Council, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Loving God, we ask you to be with us tonight as we do the work of the town of Paradise for the citizens of the town of Paradise. Guide us in our decision making. Please watch out and protect our public safety personnel here in the town and the rest of the country. And we're going to ask you to look out for our good friend Ward Gabriel and our police sergeant, Sergeant Pickering. Amen.
Council members, in order for the council to discuss and make recommendations of accepting the notice of completion for the interim striping safety project 2023, the item must be formally added to the agenda under the consent calendar. It takes 2/3 of a vote to add this item to the agenda, or if less than 2/3 are present, a unanimous vote. So as such, I'm asking the council to take the following action. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2B2, the town council finds that there is a need to take immediate action, and that need came to the attention of the town after the posting of the agenda concerning the following item. That item that we're asking to put on the consent calendar is item 2O, consider adopting resolution number 2024-11, a resolution of the Town Council of Paradise accepting the work performed under the interim striping safety project 2023 contract 9429.com performed by Specialized Pavement Marking LLC. What is the wish of the council?
Can we do it to roll call first?
Well, so here's what happened. This item came to the attention of staff after the posting of the agenda. Pursuant to Government Code 54954.2, which was read, there is a procedure whereby you can add it to the agenda, and that's what's being proposed. So this would be a two-step process. It's the item is in front. In front of you. There's a staff report. It's item 2 sub O. It would be to add it to consent, to accept the construction contract of the interim striping safety project 2023.
And the reason for the exigency is what?
Well, the reason for the exigency is to,
The notice of completion needs to be recorded, and the project was completed in December, and so it was supposed to be on the February agenda, and it was inadvertently not put on there.
Okay, thank you.
So do we take the roll, start the meeting officially?
I'm sorry, yeah, I apologize. This is to accept the improvements and to close out the contract so that acceptance can be recorded. And so what this would require is it would require a motion, a second, and a 2/3 vote. Of course, the math in this instance works out to 4 out of 5 of you would need to approve putting it on consent. Then when you approve the consent calendar, assuming that this is part of it, then this would automatically be approved.
Don't we take roll first?
So,
I think that was the question.
do we need to take roll first and then do this, or can we do it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought you meant take roll call like to approve this. I'm like, let me.
We haven't taken roll call. We're not officially here yet, Scott.
We did earlier.
Yeah, this is.
Roll call. Councilmember Crowder?
Here.
Councilmember Culleton?
Here.
Councilmember Tryon?
Here?
Vice Mayor Boland?
Here.
And Mayor Lassonde?
Here.
So I move that we move forward with this and add it to the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Boland, seconded by Crowder. Roll call vote. Councilmember Boland?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Lassonde?
Aye.
Thank you. This item will be added to the consent calendar. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Town Council recognition of employee service to the Town of Paradise. And Councilmember Boland will read the names and I'll do the presentation.
Okay. So, these are for people that have been with us for a long, long time. Some of them. And we want to thank them very much for their service and for their longevity. This is great, and it's an honor for us to do this. 15 years We have Sean Jordan.
Sean, will you come
Sean
forward?
Jordan. Sean is with the police department.
Okay, you taking pictures?
Please.
Okay.
Can I get a photo?
Yeah, there he is.
Thank you. Thanks.
Congratulations. Yeah, you go back and sit down now.
We have our town clerk, Dina Valinsky.
Thank you.
And also from our police department, John Wilkie.
I should share it.
I love seeing you walk up.
Thank you.
Did I miss the picture?
No, it was just like you, John.
And that's our 15 years. Years, Colette Curtis.
There you go.
Thank you. One more? Thank you. Yeah. Congrats.
And also Mark Maddox.
Oh my gosh, yes. All right. So hold it, what do we do here?
You're doing it, buddy.
Whatever you want.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's our 10-year. 5 years, Andrew Anaya.
There you go, Andrew. There's many more.
The best. The best.
Leanne Rice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congrats.
Molly St. John.
We love Dolly.
Dominic Venucci.
Outstanding, Alan. I know your dad real well.
Hey. Thank you.
Tanya Yelenskaya.
Congratulations, Tanya. Job well done. Here you go.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations. We'll now move on to item 1F, special recognition is awarded to sworn and non-sworn personnel and volunteers for their exemplary contribution to the department. I believe the chief is going to be doing that for us.
Good evening, council. This is going to take a little bit longer than yours, but that's okay. Mind if I turn and face you? All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Reinbold. I'm the chief for the police department. This is always a great opportunity. Each year, we get to recognize our employees and volunteers that have been nominated by their peers for these of the year awards. So I'd like to share a little bit about each of those recipients. And first, I have Officer Andrew Cooper. If you can come up and join us. You get to hold this and look pretty while I talk about you, okay? All right, so a little bit about Andrew. So Andrew served active duty in the Army from 2004 to 2009. And since concluding the active duty service, he's been a reserve, serving as a senior paralegal, and his goal is 20 years, which is coming up pretty soon, right? In June. In June. So Andrew decided that he was going to pursue a career in law enforcement, and in 2015, he went through the Butte Law Enforcement Academy, and afterwards, he was hired by the Chico Police Department. While there, he worked his way up to the Major Accident Investigation Team and was assigned as a motor traffic officer. He found his passion in traffic enforcement, and we'll get to that. So in October of '22, Andrew decided he wanted a greater purpose in his career and wanted to be a part of serving his hometown during the rebuild and recovery. Excuse me. So Andrew made the move to join the Paradise Police Department, and he literally hit the ground running. Officer Cooper has a passion for traffic enforcement and consistently led the department in traffic enforcement and citations over this past year, issuing 291 citations. All the while balancing his other duties and maintaining high statistical performance in all areas. Andrew is viewed as a strong leader amongst his peers. He always takes opportunities to share knowledge and mentor those that he works with. Andrew completes all his tasks and assignments in a timely and efficient manner, and he serves as a TASER instructor and was recently selected as a field training officer. This past year, Andrew created an electronic officer's field guide to assist his fellow officers with reference material to use throughout their daily operations. Andrew conducted research and applied for a grant through the Office of Traffic Safety, and that grant was awarded for almost $50,000, which will be used to enhance traffic-related operations, which will include software for traffic collision reporting and electronic citation issuing. So he's going to be even faster next year. So in closing, I wanted to share a couple of things that Andrew's peers said when nominating him for Officer of the Year. Officer Cooper has accepted, you know it's coming, don't you? Officer Cooper has accepted collateral assignments with a great attitude, despite being the mean one writing all the tickets around town. But he has his community in mind while performing his duties. Who would have the thought you could take someone to jail for replacing their steering wheel and not having the manufacturer's airbag? This guy found it somewhere in the vehicle code. And Archie, forgive me if I botch this, but when I'm on my way to work, I know Andrew is working, even I slow down in my patrol vehicle. So, congratulations. Well deserved. All right, next up is our Dispatcher of the Year recipient, Jeanette Huggins, if you can come join me. Congratulations. So Jeanette joined the Paradise Police Department as a dispatcher in May of 2016. Jeanette was selected as Dispatcher of the Year in 2017 and Civilian Employee of the Year in 2022, and now again Dispatcher of the Year in '23. So a little bit about Jeanette over this past couple of years. We'll give her some recognition. Jeanette stepped up and took the dispatch record supervisor role after the campfire and has done an outstanding job managing all the responsibilities related to records, state reporting, and implementing endless requirements of legislative changes that the state keeps handing down almost on a monthly basis. When our town council gave direction to reinstate our dispatch and 911 answering service, Jeanette was excited, enthusiastic, and instrumental in building a plan to bring dispatch back to Paradise. Jeanette, along with others, put together recruitment and advertising material for hiring dispatchers. She represented and promoted our recruitment efforts at job fairs, on social media. She's proctored the entry-level testing, as well as being involved with the interview and selection process. Jeanette puts in countless hours consistently, and she spent numerous hours and days revamping and updating our dispatch training program, and worked closely with the administration to develop our implementation of bringing dispatch back to Paradise. That came to reality on July 17th of 2023, Our dispatch center went live and we began answering calls and running the radio again. Jeanette has shown great resilience and determination not only as a supervisor, but as a dispatcher and a dispatch trainer, while still managing to complete all of her responsibilities. Jeanette, you've been an invaluable asset to the department. We appreciate everything you do, and this is a well-deserved award, so thank you. All right, next up is our Civilian Employee of the Year, Sean Jordan. Come on up. Two times. Yes, sir. So Sean Jordan has served as an evidence technician for the police department. He's dedicated to the community, and he's been serving us for 15 years as he just got recognized, almost 16. He's worked as a community service officer, assisting with a variety of tasks, including managing arson, drug, and Megan Law registrants, assisting the Felony Investigations Unit with child and elder abuse investigation, and has worked with the Paradise Schools and participated in student attendance review boards, as well as parking enforcement. For the past 4 years, Sean has worked as an evidence technician, securing, processing crime scenes, and processes, stores, releases, and disposes of property and evidence at the police department. Since taking the role on, Sean has taken an enormous task of updating the property and evidence storage facilities, auditing all the items, and maintaining custody of those at the Paradise Police Department, or getting rid of the junk that we don't need. This large project involves locating and verifying each item of evidence and where it is stored, determining what items must be kept and what items can be returned or disposed of. If items can be returned to their owners, it's a monumental task at times for Sean to track these folks down, but he puts in his best effort all the time. Sean doesn't let the size of his responsibilities keep him from building and maintaining positive relationships with his coworkers. According to some of the staff, not only is he a master at his job, but he always adds a touch of humor, serving to the great morale at the station. He's also incredibly dedicated to his own family outside of work, and we appreciate all your things that you do for us and your strong work ethic, so thank you again and congratulations. All right, we have two more. So our Volunteer of the Year, Lisa Robinson, if you can come on up. All right, so Lisa's been a volunteer with the department for almost 9 years. She began volunteering in May of 2015. She was nominated and selected as Volunteer of the Year in 2020. Lisa has helped the department in so many different ways. She works every week at the front desk helping the public who come in needing assistance in the lobby. Oftentimes we see Lisa at least twice a week. Lisa helps with the VIPS booth at public events, for example, Party in the Park, Gold Nugget Days. She's very helpful when we have the elementary kids come visit the police department and take tours. She's always willing and asks if there's anything that she can help us with, because she gets through all of her projects so quickly and gets bored. So many of Lisa's peers nominated her, and some of the things they had to say is that she's very happy to be here, always doing extra projects, very reliable. She cares about everyone a lot and is always smiling. Lisa spends more hours than expected of her. She works on many special projects and always has a positive attitude. Lisa is kind and always willing to help. She's participated in field training scenarios and is always a great help to others. Lisa is dedicated, trustworthy, and very reliable. And with that, thank you. Well deserved. So last and most definitely not least, our PASH Volunteer of the Year, Charlotte Amoroso, if you can join me. So for those of you that don't know, PASH is a great organization, Paradise Animal Shelter Helpers, and there's many volunteers within that organization that help the daily operations of the shelter, working with the animals, and most notably and recently, all the fundraising they're doing for our shelter expansion project. So a little bit about Charlotte and why we're here today. She's been volunteering at the shelter just under a year. She's a longtime resident of Paradise and volunteers at least 3 days a week, rain or shine. She chooses to complete a variety of tasks around the shelter, gives our dogs and cats enrichment with toys, attention, and playtime. Charlotte sometimes holds animals while they're examined. She will help with anything she's asked to do, including laundry, the dishes, picking up after the dogs, and any other tasks. Charlotte is a favorite amongst her staff, volunteers, and animals housed at the shelter. So for all those things, we thank you for your dedication and service to the animal shelter. Thank you again for the time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good job. That was great. We certainly do appreciate our police department, what they do out there for us, even the traffic control folks. I know you sometimes cringe when that light's on behind you, but, you know, keeps us all safe. Let's all move on now to item 1G. I'd like to ask Lisa Robinson to come forward once again and do a presentation of the VIPS 2023 annual report.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank Karen Horn, one of our VIPs, for doing all the work for this report. That was a lot of work. The volunteers and police service would like to thank the town, Measure V, and VIPs Frank Dodini for our new patrol vehicle. Patrol volunteers logged 1,645 hours in 2023. Presently, there are 6 shifts working Monday through Friday. VIPs are available to be called out for accidents and emergency situations such as road closures, fires, trees down, etc. In 2023, 72 and a half hours were donated to these events. The police department front counter was staffed by VIPs 696 hours. 2 of our VIPs spent 213 hours conducting live scan and rolled fingerprints, saving the town $4,321. The front counter is staffed by VIPs Monday through Friday. Total, the VIPs donated 3,603 hours in 2023. That is a benefit to the town of $73,115. We're excited that we have 4 new volunteers who just completed our academy, bringing our staff to 21 volunteers. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to invite Executive Director Monica Nolan to come and give us a presentation on the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce social media platforms.
Thank you very much. This is actually going to be a presentation on our community growth marketing plan, of which social media is a component. There we go. So, ta-da, that's the title of the presentation. If we could move to the next slide, please, we can look at a timeline. So as you may remember, we engaged a marketing consultant back at the beginning of 2023 who delivered a substantial study that gave us a strategy to move forward, a strategy and a plan. So out of that marketing study came 16 potential projects, and we have embarked on 3 at this time. If we were to take on all of those projects, our cost would be close to $500,000. So we're going to eat this elephant just a little bit at a time. Next, please. Of course, the major component that we need for our resident attraction campaign is welcometotheridge.com, our new website. I'd like everyone to keep in mind as they're looking at this and looking at Welcome to the Ridge is that while it does support new residents and welcome new residents, the attraction campaign is very much outward facing. We're sending this out of the Ridge so that we can attract people to the Ridge. Next slide, please. So it's quite a comprehensive site. I hope that you all take some time to look at it. And we are casting a wide net in terms of attracting new residents, trying to show that we have something to offer everyone, and your feedback is very welcome. Next slide, please. As you can see, there are some of our selling points. We're fastest growing, close to big city amenities, 50% lower home prices, which we need to lean on that hard in terms of attracting new people to the community. And our water quality is unbeatable, unbeaten. And you can see on the right there of the slide that we are garnering some media out of this. Next slide, please. Another major portion of this campaign is social media. So that is something that the town is funding through its general fund. You're funding a portion of the setup and year one costs. So the total cost of the contract for the social media for our consultants, $32,780 with a town contribution of $20,000, which makes 61% funded by the town for the media contract only. That does not take into account chamber staff time, incidentals, and associated ad buys. Next slide, please. So please, everyone, look at these socials, share them, send them out into the world, and let's bulk up our attraction and engagement. Next, please. Instagram is the primary social media channel with supported through Threads, Facebook, and TikTok. And we have, let's see, we've reached 400 local followers. Considering we launched just last month, this is fine, but I'm not ready to show stats yet on the traction. That's coming, and we're getting continuous reports. Phase 2 is going to be outreach and paid ads to reach groups and target realtors in our target market. Next, please. Part of the open house weekend, which is coming up later in this presentation, and overall campaign is a realtor outreach. We're actually paid for that for part of our contract with our consultants, and our realtors are really our foot soldiers in this campaign. So keeping them informed and giving them the tools that they need to sell Paradise and Magalia is extremely important, and helping them, really hearing from them on the overcoming objections piece is extremely important. So very happy with having this tool in our tool belt. Next, please. So we took the show on the road just a couple of weeks ago, and I would like to thank my partners in the Ridge Community Development Collective who staffed this trade show. We went down to Cal Expo for 3 days, 6 teams of 2 people each, talking to people face to face, and getting feedback on the fact that we're still here and we're growing, and we got some very good feedback, which I'll get to later. Next, please. I want to really thank Rebuild Paradise Foundation for being such a strong partner in this. These talking points are absolutely brilliant, produced by Lindsay Churchill for Rebuild Paradise Foundation, generously sharing with the community, so hit us up for those. We are very happy to share, but that was a very important tool for us as we were talking to thousands of people at Cal Expo just a couple of weeks ago. Next, please. So to recap on the expo highlights, where we got in front of a lot of different people. And we had a beautiful display. We were very proud of our display. And we had a slideshow that showed facets of everything about life on the Ridge. We raised awareness beyond our community. We were able to engage one-on-one and have very good conversations with people about how we're doing and the fact that we are still here, and a really attractive thing to everyone we talked to, including our colleagues at the show, the contractors, landscapers, plumbers, electricians, et cetera. Everyone was very, very interested in those house prices. So that is a very good selling point for us. And we drew a winner for a weekend in Paradise. We're giving away a weekend in Paradise around Gold Nugget Days, so we had a cute little house-shaped entry basket that drew a lot of attention. But, you know, here we come to the downer part. The pain points, the objections we need to overcome: insurance, costs, and the perceived danger of wildfire. So next, please. Which brings us to Open House Weekend. That is coming up June 1st and 2nd. It's going to be a showcase of all things Ridge. We are going to have tours of everything, all our beautiful parks, our schools. We want all of the real estate inventory on show, rolling out the red carpet. And this is also funded through the Town of Paradise Transient Occupancy Tax funding at 88% coming from TOT, because the TOT allotment to us is $45,000. Actual cost is $51,330, and that's not counting ad-buys, staff time, etc. So I encourage everyone to save the date. We have engaged special guests to play at Party in the Park. They're just 6 guys who know how to have a good time and get everyone dancing. So save the date. Next slide, please. This is the landing page on welcometotheridge.com right now. It is in development, so those links aren't clickable yet, but we want everyone in place by the end of the month in terms of what they're doing. And we're very pleased that the Paradise Garden Tour is happening the same weekend, so quite felicitous that that is happening. Next slide, please. Again, these are all our social handles, how to get involved: like, follow, share, spread the word, subscribe to our newsletter. And please, please, please look at the website, look at the socials, share your photos with me, or we can give you the direct link to share them with our consultants so that we can get a really great picture of what it's like to live here. And I'd like to thank all of our sponsors and the Town of Paradise for its collaboration in this very important project. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the outside, we have a survey to ask them what social media they found us on or what they were interested in. Do we have any way of knowing what drew them up here?
First, we have to bag and tag them, because, I mean, we don't, how do we, it's, if everyone can help us with that, through your church, through however you meet those new people, yes, we absolutely want that, but we unfortunately don't have a turnstile to get that. That's been a kind of constant thing, but when we created this project, we did get feedback from 667 individuals, many of them new residents, and, but that's, we are casting a wide net, hoping to catch all of them.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm happy to answer.
You said, what was that one slide about Instagram as the primary something or whatever? What was it?
The primary social media platform that we are using for this campaign.
I don't do Instagram.
Yeah, I had to go on it because my kids hide from me there,
I
so.
have friends that are on it.
Yes.
So, and then on the last slide there, with the social media thing, so it's cool that like Instagram and whatever these other ones are, I don't know what the little deals, but they call @theridge.community, but Facebook, which a lot of us use, it's not that. Aren't we trying to, it's Life on the Ridge. How come it's different?
Because the URLs were all taken, it was very difficult to get, all of those hashtags were already taken by other organizations, so we did a process of elimination. Yeah, and there's a lady in the room who can help you with your socials. Want to raise your hand, Stacy? She's the queen of social media. So she helps us out all the time, and I'm volunteering her for you as well.
Okay, yeah, it's just, Instagram,
Yeah.
and those others, I don't even know what they are. Old people are gonna have a hard time doing that.
Well, they'll find us another way. We are, that's not our only way, but social media, I mean, so many people are using that for marketing that it's very important, so.
If you watch Shark Tank, that's all these entrepreneurs are getting started. It's true. But I mean, and I've been to the new webpage, and it looks really good, and so kudos to all you guys for all the effort you're doing. And what you guys did in Sacramento, that looked pretty doggone cool. Next time you do one of those trade shows, maybe invite the mayor or some of us. We'd be glad to show up.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to item 1I. call forward Executive Director Jen Goodland to do a presentation on Rebuild Paradise Foundation and the handprint mural.
Hi, how are you all? I'm Jen with Rebuild Paradise Foundation, and before we talk about the handprint mural that was inspired by the 5-year anniversary, I wanted to give you like a 2-minute who Rebuild Paradise Foundation is, in case I know some of you are familiar, but maybe not all of you know what we've been doing on the Ridge since the campfire. So we are Rebuild Paradise Foundation, a 501c3 that was founded by Charles Brooks, who's right here in the room. He is on the board now. And this is myself and our little small staff. We're small and mighty. All of my staff is part-time, except for me, it's full-time. Next slide, please. Can that video be played in here or no?
Give it a go.
Okay.
No audio here.
Okay, that's okay. This is a recap of what we've done for 2023 within our community. So we've given back over $1.4 million in our missing middle grant, almost $1 million for the septic grant, over 231 permits from our master floor plan library. If you're not familiar with that, it's been a hugely successful program that even other communities have utilized, like Lahaina. Our septic map, I think you all know what that is. That's been a great resource. We this year were able to have the first designated Firewise community. Now we have 17 Firewise communities in the works, which will help with insurance. So we spearheaded that with the idea that we can help, if we can do it, we can help others do it, right? We've given back over $30,000 for different community sponsorships, sports, schools, gardens, you name it. We want to help the community in any way that will draw people back. We have helped with the career fair, Love Paradise event twice a year. We are huge advocates for the community. As Monica would say, we are the community's #1 cheerleaders, and I feel like that's the biggest compliment we could have. We have a very solid partnership with the town of Paradise. We love to support you guys in any endeavors, and we love to showcase the new builds, and we love changing the narrative of what people think our community was as a burnt down town. We want to change that narrative of the opportunity and beauty that lie here. So we do a lot of marketing and showcasing, and everything that Rebuild Paradise does is we always ask ourselves why, and it's for the betterment of our community. So any decision that we make, any project that we implement, our ask is, why are we doing this? And if it's for the betterment of our community, we take steps forward to try to do that. So, next slide, please. When the 5-year anniversary came along, this summer we started brainstorming, and we were like, everybody is asking us how far we've come. You guys all have this question, right? How far have you come? And it's so hard to answer. How do you answer that? And we've come super far, but we still have a ton to do. And we thought, though, gosh, our schools have exploded. And what better way to show how far we've come 5 years post-fire than to show how many kids are here? Not how many kids are here, how many schools we have. Like, that's a huge, huge benefit to our community. Schools, school choice, the growth. So we were like, what if we can visually show what 5 years later looks like by the kids? And so we decided, what if we get their handprints? So we took on this massive project of getting their handprints on ceramic tiles. So our goal was, we want to create a long-lasting public display, an art display, of all the kids on the Ridge handprints living here at the 5-year anniversary of the campfire. So this is a reflection of 5 years post-fire. This isn't the kids who went through the fire, although many of them are on the wall. This is where we are right now, a picture. It's like a moment in time. There are 2,500 of them. There are 13 schools. And so we wanted to be very intentional in how we captured the handprints in an art manner. And now that we've lost so many trees, we thought, what better way than to make it look like a sunset, because that's kind of our new beauty. We wanted to do this at the time of the 5-year anniversary. So some of the things might feel a little backwards as far as how we did them, but we really wanted to do this. We did this primarily in November of this past year. So we went to every Ridge school. We painted each child's hand with glaze and then put it on a ceramic tile. The tiles were then fired in a kiln, And then we would like to construct a wall at Paradise Community Park, and then have a tilist place those tiles on a wall in a sunset pattern. Okay? Like I said, we were really intentional. So this isn't just Paradise. This is the campfire footprint we're showcasing. Rebuild Paradise Foundation has always been really big on we are the Ridge. This is very important to us. And Paradise Unified School District, thankfully, is also in Magalia. So this was a beautiful, partnership amongst all of the schools. We had a design by Emily Farmer, who is here. She's local to our community. We also wanted some way for the kids to be able to maybe find their handprint, and so we put their initial and age. We kind of scoured the town for where, and we really landed on Paradise Community Park. It's a central location. We love that it's the town's. There's a spot along the bike path that just would lend well to this. It would bring people from outside of our community. It gives a message of resilience and hope. And really the primary reason is our why is our kids. Why are we rebuilding this community? Like, I know I plant a tree, I will never see it grow huge. My kids will, right? Why are we rebuilding this town? It's the kids, and they need to be a part of our recovery. So this is them being a part of it, right? Okay? So we kind of have broken up into 3 phases. We have completed phase 1. Phase 2, we actually just picked up all of our fire tiles from Butte College. And now we're working on phase 3 with our partnership with you guys and getting permits and the construction. This was an enormous project. Very, 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 very complicated. Thankfully, my team is really amazing. I'm gonna get a sip of water. When you have to work with 13 different schools and the complexities, some of them having 500 children, how do we get in and out of there quickly and respect them is very complicated. Also, we have 0 experience in anything ceramic, and now we have all the experience in the world. So, I mean, we had everybody helping us, from my neighbor who works for the art center to, we had 70 volunteers. This was a massive undertaking. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. You have a spark of an idea, right? And then you have to do it, and you're like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? So this was, it started with an idea, really, a spark, and then it really progressed into, can we do this? And we met with, the first person that we talked to was an artist in Chico, and all she said to us was that you can do this, and that's all we needed. Then we realized how hard it was. And then we were able to get some funding for this project. So next slide. So to date we've raised over $60,000 for this project. So that's for our community. T-Mobile gave $50,000 of that, and what that T-Mobile grant did was actually they want to help our community much more. I hope you know that. That $50,000 was the start of them helping. So that was huge. And then the rest is from like a lot of local, small little entities. We had over 70 volunteers. This is us at the high school being really bossy. And we've partnered with almost every organization in this community, from the chamber to the schools to you guys. It's really, this wall is not Rebuild Paradise Foundation. This wall is the Ridge. And that's one of the most beautiful things about it. We went up to Concal. We worked with the Concal Fire Department. It's been really amazing. We've had media coverage. It's being a part of our long-term recovery and history. We got to visit every school. You guys, we have awesome schools here. Like, you need to know that. We were like, this is unbelievable. But one of the things that I think myself and my staff is that we're all a little different after this experience. We touched all of those kids' hands, the ones that live here, and some of them are really dirty, and some kids have hard lives. And their little hands are on that wall, and it was very moving for us to get to see who Paradise is right now. You know, we're about 50-50, 50% new, 50% people who lived here before, and it's like this beautiful mix. It was an honor for our foundation, and it was also extremely exhausting. We drank a lot of Airborne to get through this.
One got COVID.
Yeah, only one case of COVID. Don't worry. And I think initially, especially the high school, people were worried for us. So there's 500 kids, and they're high schoolers, and here we are. We're primarily 3 women, but we had football coach come and help us. We had a firefighter come and help us. I mean, just everybody. And the kids just respected us. They came in and out, and we were done. And I think the teachers were kind of like, what just happened? So it was really fun. Next slide. So we were so thankful. Butte College is awesome partnership with this. They fired almost all of the tiles, and then Home Tech Charter School did as well. We just picked them up yesterday, which was my birthday, and it was really awesome that they did that. That's a massive undertaking. They did not charge us. And we're also working with Rancho Engineering. I will talk about this in a moment, why we decided to go with engineering the wall. And then we want to finalize the location. Next slide. Okay, so much of this is outside of my realm of knowledge. The best thing I've ever done for my job is surround myself with people who are way smarter than me. And Emily is one of them. She's the designer. And so for this wall, it's a lot of kids. 2,500 kids, 6x6 ceramic tiles is a massive wall. So I talked to Mark Maddox about this already. If it was under 4 feet, we did not have to engineer the wall. But then I talked to Greg Bolin, and he said, it doesn't matter, you need to engineer it anyway for liability. So we went up a little higher to try to cut down on the length of the wall. So we're gonna have a couple different options. This wall will actually be 6 panels because there are so many kids. So it's a repeating pattern of this sunset mural that will go 6 times. We kind of have 2 options. We can do 6 with all of the panels facing outward toward the park, or we can do 3 panels facing the park and the other 3 on the back side of the wall, which would be more of a visual for the Pearson Road area. It would be a little bit harder to walk and access as the location kind of slopes relatively soon, but you can walk back there. So each panel is almost 28 feet long. I've gone over there, I've measured it multiple times. I went back again today because in my mind you start like, is this gonna work? And so go on ahead to the next slide. So we are here today to ask for permission to place this mural at Paradise Community Park along the Yellowstone Kelly Heritage Trail. And the location is almost directly across from the gazebo, and it's in between the museum panels. And so this spot is very open. There is no like trees or landscaping left. If we add all the panels together, all 6, it's 165 feet long, which is about half the size of a football field. I'm trying to give you a good visual here. It's more like a fence though, it's not tall. We only want it to be 5 feet high because we want the kids to be able to see their hands. If we go up really high, they would never be able to find them. So that's why we want to give 2 options. One is one really long wall, the other is half the size, and we put half the handprints on the other side of the wall. Next slide, please. So we must be 2 feet from the sorry about my typos here, sidewalk. So where the sidewalk is, that bike trail, we have to be at least 2 feet away. This is what Mark told me. A cinder block is about 8 inches. And then from there, most spots we have about 5 feet before the slope, the natural slope starts down toward the creek. And then from the wall. There's about 44 feet from the creek bank. So I am unsure if we will have to get involvement of Fish and Wildlife for a permit here for this wall. But there is a creek down there. So these are some of the things that are outside of my knowledge and realm, but with the support and help of the community, I feel like we can get through them. Okay, next slide. I did meet with Mark. I wanted to make sure we weren't too crazy, and that we were coming up with something that was possibly feasible. I did meet with Greg, who walked over to the area with me and gave me some advice. Emily also, she came over and came up with an insane plan. This is a paint by number. We put it together yesterday. It is, I think, might be the world record of the biggest tile paint by number ever.
We're checking into it.
We're checking into it, actually. Anything to bring people to paradise, right? So when we went to the schools, not only we're like, okay, we have to wash each tile. We had to paint each tile's background first. Here's one of them. And then we had to take that. Okay, we need 483 purple tiles, and we need 792 green. Or each one was different. We were like, I'd go to bed at night, and my mind was like 9 or 4 or 7 and 2. Like I couldn't keep track of everything. Okay, so anyway. With the wall, we want to consider everything. Long-term maintenance. Gold Nugget Museum has, because they're taking care of those panels that go along the bike trail, they will help maintain the wall. Safety. It's 5 feet tall. We don't want kids up there. We don't want people falling. So we need to put something on top of the cinder blocks to prevent that from happening. We have to consider the grout color and the size to support the tiles. We need permission from you all, Rancho Engineering, we need permitting. I've spoken with Dan Efsop with Park and Rec, since that's where part of their course will go. I'm also on the board there, and they're fine with the wall going there. There's no issue. And then backup plans. In case something happens and we aren't able to do it, option 1 or 2, then we have some other options, such as utilizing the Little League space. So we want these kids' handprints up. I know the community does. I know we really stepped outside of our expertise as Rebuild Paradise Foundation, but we believe in our community and its recovery, and we all know that, nothing good happens if it doesn't take a lot of work. Next slide. And this quote at the bottom is just kind of carried us through. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And then now you get to see a little sneak peek. That is one of the panels. We got to put it together yesterday. So those are our kids' handprints. There's a lot of correlations here. When you fire these tiles through the kiln, they actually become stronger. I think that's very, a statement for our community, right? Going through a fire has made us all a little bit stronger. So, now questions.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I think it's a great thing you did. It looks wonderful. I know how hard you worked on it, and I was pretty involved in the Yellowstone Kelly Trailway, and I think that this would be a great addition to the trailway, and it would just enhance the trailway that much more. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to have some sort of plaque that explains what this is all about? So people who walk by and say, oh, that's a nice sunset, and keep on going, so they know, what you put into this or something like that? Is there going to be some sort of explanation available for people that just wander on the trail?
Yes, there are lots of details. So there will be acknowledgments for people who help contribute, and then also an explanation, like in commemoration of the 5-year anniversary, showing how far we've come 5 years post-fire. Yes.
I really like about the kids. The future.
So this is called Our Future is Bright.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of here's a naysayer in me. You should save some tiles for if anything gets damaged.
Yes,
If
that,
somebody breaks something. And my other suggestion would be that you create something on a very smaller scale where some of these tiles could go to the school in Concow, could go to Magalia, because it's not, even though they're included in this, we're all fire victims, they're all the
Right.
kids. So maybe use some of the tiles to make some kind of a monument or commemorative that could be put in those communities, somewhere, not this magnitude. And I would check with the town engineer and all the rule makers, which is not us, about what if we could put this thing on the down, not on the creek side, on the other side, between the park and the trailway, so that you could see it from both sides, when you're in the park or walking or biking on the trailway. I don't know if that's possible, but it would certainly be something to look at. You've done a great job. Thank you.
thank you. Any more questions?
No questions, I just thank you for all the work. That doesn't just happen without an extra effort, so thank you
Yeah.
so much for.
Yeah, I could not have done it, okay? My board is here also. My very supportive board and staff.
It will qualify as the world's longest
Paint by number?
by number, whatever it's called, then by all means, let's videotape it and invite,
Oh,
give us,
yeah.
all those people to come here, because what a great idea. What a
Yeah.
great draw for the community.
Yeah.
Our schools are probably the biggest economic draw we have. It's one
Yeah.
of the best reasons to move to Paradise, to raise a family.
Yes,
is our
we
school.
agree.
You guys have done great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 1J, the campfire recovery update. So written reports are in the agenda packet, so let's just looking if there's any questions. First, Colette Curtis, is there any questions in the dais for?
Well, I do have a quick question. Do we have an update on the recovery of the FEMA funding for the first set of tree removals?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Tryon. Yes, so we are continuing with our work to pursue the reimbursement for that funding through some legal means. So we are pursuing that, and we expect to have more information for you by the end of this month.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Colette? Hearing none, move on to Mark Maddox's report. Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, I'll move on to Tony Lindsay's report. Any questions for Tony? Hearing none, I'll move on to the last one, Kate Anderson's report. Any questions there? Okay, that closes it out. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Are there any items that we need to pull from this?
Yes, if we could pull M, 2M
Okay.
from that, I have a conflict of interest now, and I can't vote on that one.
Okay, 2M is pulled, and we have approved adding 2O to the consent calendar. So, one roll call vote will be taken for all items. Consent items are considered to be routine business. It doesn't call for discussion, so do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I know, but are you calling it to remove that item or to just handle it? It's not-
No, consent without that.
Consent without it. Yeah. But with the addition of the 2O that we approved earlier. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yes. Did you second it?
I will second it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion by Boland, seconded by Tryon, to approve the consent calendar with item 2M removed and item 2O included. Roll call vote, Vice Mayor Boland.
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder.
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon.
Aye.
And Mayor Lasand.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we have to bring up 2M. We'll now bring up item 2M to authorize the NTE increase for amendment for the Youth Fire Safe Council. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Okay.
Motion by Tryon, seconded by Culleton. Roll call vote, Vice Mayor Boland is absent. Councilmember Crowder?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
Mayor Lassonde?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Let's move on to public communication, item number 4, for matters that are not on the council business agenda. The speakers are allowed to speak 3 minutes. Best if you have turned in a card to Gina, and so do we have any cards?
I have one card from Shannon Hawkins.
Shannon, if you would come forward to the microphone, please.
Sure.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Good evening, council members. I just had a question about, it's the trailer ordinance 632. If they can consider changing the ordinance or making some exceptions for certain property owners. We have a private road, we own 2 parcels. One we built our house on. The one across the street from us is where we keep our 2020 travel trailer because we don't have room on our side of the property where our house is. And with this ordinance, I will no longer be able to keep my stuff on my own property. It's a private road, none of my neighbors care, so.
So we have an exceptions committee.
Okay.
That you could submit your case to that committee, and then they could go through and look at it.
Okay. How do I get the information for that?
I'm not sure the exceptions committee applies to that part of the ordinance. I know it did for people living in RVs. I'm not sure
Storage.
it went to the storage issue. I mean, I have no objection to it being, considering that, because I'm opposed to that ordinance the way it's written. That's a really old ordinance.
Yeah.
It was written pre-fire years ago. So, I mean, there's certainly something I would hope we would be able to discuss in the future.
Yeah.
But she could get the paperwork and submit it, and then you guys can decide whether or not.
Yeah, might as well.
Between now and then, we can find out whether the committee has the authority to approve an exception of that
You can
nature.
always amend it to make it.
Then that has to come here, et cetera. Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it
That
out.
would be
We'll figure it
the
out.
recommended path,
Okay.
is apply for an exception.
Okay, and then do you know where to go to get the
No.
paperwork? You would get it down at the Brick.
Okay.
Is there anyone specific at the Brick they need to contact, you guys? They're back there. If you go to the Brick, they'll have paperwork
Okay.
for you.
Okay. I spoke with them when I went in there about it, and they said, what was the ordinance before the fire, so we're implementing it now. And I'm like, well, the town's different now.
That's the way it's
Yeah.
been interpreted. is
Yeah.
that It's an old ordinance, and so we passed a thing saying, here's the deadline, and the way we amended it, everything's gonna go away. And so if they go to the Brick, they're not gonna get any help.
Right.
They're not gonna be said, oh yeah, you can apply for an exemption, because, I'm not faulting our staff, but,
I know.
it's,
I was told there was no exemptions, that's just what it was, so I'm like, well,
somehow we'll figure,
okay.
we'll have a discussion at some point. We'll
I
figure it out.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was my
Only cards. Is there anybody else that wants to speak during public? Okay, please come forward.
Sorry, I didn't get here in time to fill out a card.
Please state your name.
Carrie Max. I live here in Paradise. I love it here. Living in a trailer still haven't seen my money from PG&E. And I checked the mail the other day, and I got a letter from the town. I was like, oh, what do they want now? Well, you gave me another year to find my way, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that. Thank you.
We want you to find a way.
I know, and I am, but it does take time to recover.
It does.
It does.
We get it.
And thank you for honoring that. I can breathe. And grow.
Any other? Okay. Close the public communication. Public hearing, there's none. Move on to council consideration. These items are presented by the staff, and we'll take a vote, each council member. And so let's start with item 6A. And that's to consider authorizing the mayor and the town manager enter an agreement for banking services with Tri-County Bank. Who's going to speak? Yes.
Good evening, Council. As you see before you, we have our banking RFP selection. We had 3 very qualified banking entities that submitted, and the winner of that would be Tri-Counties Bank. they're here tonight to represent not only supporting us, but to see how you vote tonight. So we had three very qualified agencies. We had Tri-County Bank with a score of 356, US Bank with 346, and Mechanics Bank with 327. So we're bringing this forward tonight for you to authorize to enter into contract.
And what is the services for?
There are general banking services, so direct deposits, checking, payroll, all of the general banking that we need for the daily activities.
And who do we currently have?
US Bank,
So we had to move everything over.
yes.
So-
Did that with a smile.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. Just full disclosure, I've been with Tri-County Bank. My personal accounts are there. They've probably been there for 25, maybe 30 years at this point. I don't know. So we know that some of the regional banks had some difficulties, mainly because of being invested in commercial properties and things like that, which is why Silicon Bank and the other bank failed. So that is kind of possibly a concern. I don't think that Tri-County Bank is invested that way, and that wouldn't present a problem to us. I think the other aspect of it is, and I don't know if you all know this or not, but Tri-County Bank, when the fire hit, they kept all their HELOCs open. Whereas all the other banks froze their HELOCs, and Tri-Counties didn't. They kept them open for the people here. They, I think, had almost 50 people in Tri-Counties Bank here locally that also lost homes up here. So it is nice to have that community connection. My other concern about that is we are not your typical town, because we have these huge capital withdrawals and things like that. My concern with any bank is that, are we gonna have somebody that we can talk with? Because all of us are different. A lot of times you get with a bank and you're just a number to that bank, and it sometimes takes a long time to get to someone who will actually hear your story and try to help you. So, are they guaranteeing that we will have somebody, just because we don't operate normally as other towns do because of our rebuild? So have they guaranteed us someone that we can talk to if we need help?
I believe that is true, which is part of something that we haven't been getting great customer service with our prior contract that we have, if I can be perfectly blunt about it. So that has been something that they've been very vocal about in pursuing this contract.
So they haven't identified any group within their company that you can go to and get help if you need it?
Well, Sunny is here as well as Annette, and when we were checking references, that was the number one thing that really set them apart, was how personable they are, how interactive they are, how easy to get a hold of them they are. You can go to Party in the Park and probably find out, lots of things because I've seen them there. They're very interactive from what I can tell and from the references. And that was really one of our main concerns, is how can we get better customer service, because we're kind of needy.
And they are really involved in the community. I mean, they're great about donating to all types of causes. So that would be my only concern, is that there's some department or something that we can get to get to somebody to help if we need help. So, and if somebody wants to address that question.
Sure, would you like to come up, Sunny? Or
Let me, hold on, let me see if there's any other questions from the council, and then we'll bring him up.
Well, I just want to say, I personally know Sonny very well. He's in Rotary with me. He runs the Career Day. He lives in the community. He's very involved in the community. Tri-Counties Bank paid for half of our last fire engine that we got. So they are a great community partner, and they are more of a local bank, and that's who I think we should be supporting. So that's
They were competitive in pricing too. I mean, we looked at all the different areas, and one of the things that really stood out was they were competitive and they wanted the contract as well. So it's easy to be a nice guy, but they also backed the pricing.
Well, that would be my 2 cents, was it? Knowing Sonny and other people that have worked at the bank and the relationship that Tri-Counties has had in our community for numerous years, predating the fire. And and when I read the report and I read all of the information you gave us, the fact that if nothing else, just from an economic standpoint, we can do all of the banking that we've been doing and want to do, as well as additional things, at less cost to the town dealing with Tri-Counties. That's what I'm supposed to do up here, to guard the money of the town so that we can continue to be a town.
You and I both.
All right, any other questions? Okay, if we can invite Tri-County Bank's representative to come forward, speak on this.
Good evening. My name is Sonny Ventimiglia. I am a vice president and the commercial relationship manager for Tri-Counties Bank. I am a fire survivor. My family and I were one of the first 500 homes to rebuild up here. Father of 3. They go to 3 different schools. Very, very involved in this community, very dedicated to this community. I want to talk just to your question, madam. Absolutely, you'll have a team of local professionals that are here. Our branch team is phenomenal here, and I know many of you have worked with them. Myself, as the relationship manager, primary point of contact for any concerns that the town has. Amy and I have already connected numerous times. She has my cell phone, which is connected to my hip most of the time. So absolutely, and I want to introduce one of our senior management. We don't oftentimes see senior management from banks come up. He's here from Sacramento, and he runs our treasury department, Scott Cadell, and I want to have him talk a little bit about the regional bank to your other question, ma'am.
And I'll be brief. Before I do that, I would just like to echo Sonny's sentiment around what differentiates Tri-Counties Bank from other banks, and I've worked with some of the largest banks in the country for 26 years. I've been with Tri-Counties for a little over 7.5 years. It's about the people, it's about the relationships, and we still believe in the tried and true local banker, that we're involved in the community, we live in the community, we represent the bank 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. To Sonny's point, we all have cell phones. All of my customers and all of my officers, like Annette, that manage relationships like this across the state of California, they have our cell phone numbers. You can call me 7 days a week, any time of the day, we'll respond to you. And so that's part of the team. Of course, we have an 800 number, a support line that's based out of Chico, but that's more of a backstop, like our third level of defense. You should be able to call Sonny, call Annette, call myself, and if we still can't get it resolved, you've got that backstop there. So that's my first piece. It's about people and the relationships, and we take pride in that. To touch on just the regional bank comment, it wasn't about commercial real estate. It was about improper management of their investment portfolio. When you mark-to-market securities, you mark down your entire portfolio, and unfortunately, Silicon Valley and Signature Bank did that. So they got to the point where they couldn't create liquidity because they've already marked their portfolio down. So when they need to liquidate because of the run on the bank, I mean, we had Silicon Valley Bank had requests for over $10 billion of cash out on Thursday. Typically, when banks close down, the Fed moves in over the weekend. They close the doors on Friday, open the doors on Monday, they're a new bank. Someone else has moved in. They had to shut the doors on Friday because of that. And so I can show you reporting, I can show you data. I've got multiple reports that can show you how we rank against our liquidity and our investments that we have set aside, not only for our collateral for municipalities that are held outside of the bank altogether, but beyond that, and just in terms of overall management. And I never like to talk disparagingly about another bank, but that's truly what happened. And then word of mouth. And then you also talk about concentrations. The concentrations in terms of the large depositors at Silicon Valley Bank, we'll just take them for an example. The vast majority of their customers have balances well over $10 million per household. That's stark contrast to what Tri-Counties is. Our average depositor is about $34,000. Yes, we have some large client holders, but it's very well diversified, number one. And so, we really looked at that hard and fast around, okay, are we doing everything we can, A, to communicate, and we want to be open and transparent, and so, we have that data, but we never want to come out and put a piece together around, well, here's how we differentiate ourselves. We'd rather talk to people. Again, it's about the relationships. It's about person-to-person talking to, let me, compare and contrast between one bank and another bank and how they manage their investment portfolio, because that's truly what did them in. And then, First Republic was a good bank. That was a reputational thing that fell behind Silicon Valley. Signature, good bank. But again, a couple bad decisions and here we are. And so, I think that's the biggest thing. And again, we ranked probably in the top 5 in the country, and they were probably the bottom of that list of 110 banks.
And I did look up the rating, it was very good. But,
Yeah.
again,
Sure, yeah, I just
one of the
want-
other councilmen brought it up earlier, it's sort of our job to make sure
Absolutely.
everything's okay, and we all know that it's only like 250,000 that's gonna be insured in
Right.
any deposit, which was, like you said, an issue with them, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for your bid, and
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
What was that cell phone number?
I give it to you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Need any cards on this item?
I have no cards on this item.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Boland, seconded by Culleton. Roll call vote, Vice Mayor Boland.
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder.
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde.
Aye.
Or, no, wait.
Councilmember
Councilmember Culleton, sorry. Councilmember Tryon.
Aye.
And Mayor Lassonde.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
You had your chance to change.
I did.
10 years, that should be good. We could- 15 years.
See, item 6B was pulled. It will come back at a future meeting. We'll move on to item 6C.
No,
6B was
6B. No, 6B is still,
Consent calendar.
No, that's what you said ahead of time.
We've asked that the item be pulled for future consideration.
oh, okay.
What happened?
It's been pulled for future consideration,
When did that happen?
just before the meeting.
Before the meeting?
Yes.
Oh, I just now found out.
Then I don't have to leave.
Yeah, me too.
I go to the back.
It'd be nice if we could just-
Let us move on to item 6C, which is to consider approving a letter of intent to the California Transportation Commission relating to the town's $33 million railroad extension project, Phase 2. Mark, I suppose you're the one?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor Lassonde. Good evening, council. This item, it has a couple of actions requesting a letter of intent for the California Transportation Commission, also a letter of support for a grant application through federal DOT, as well as a request of approval for a $3.8 million allocation from the town's Paradise Recovery and Operations Reserve and Fund to leverage the railroad extension Phase 2 project. Before we get into those details, I'll just give a quick recap. If you can think infrastructure recovery in less than a minute, you would understand that our 2019 long-term recovery plan really set forth critical action items on how Paradise can rebuild stronger and improve our infrastructure and circulation to improve the safety and resiliency in the community for future evacuation events, as well as day-to-day community services and living. With that, we began a process which included robust public outreach and workshops and surveys and scoping of various projects throughout town that would meet those goals of the long-term recovery plan. Of those projects identified, we helped scope and developed with the community the railroad extension project, which has approximately 5 phases, working to really align with an overall general plan policy to create east-west connections along the town of Paradise between our north-south evacuation routes. So with that, our first phase of the project would be between Pence Road and South Libby Road, connecting Sawmills, South Libby, and Edgewood. Phase 2 would complete that link over to Clark Road. And then there are future phases all the way working back towards Skyway and improving the existing railroad alignment. With this in mind, in 2022 and 2023, the state, before I get into the funding picture, I mentioned the project benefits, and this is included in the agenda item packet. It provides new access to State Route 191 and Clark Road and Pence Road, avoids 4 miles of out-of-way travel during an evacuation, provides a second route for option for 5 residential dead-end streets, and improves our transportation grid network for first responders and daily operations and evacuation events. I've already really talked about this slide as well. If the project moved forward, it would have a longer timeline, including environmental clearance, and that includes feasibility, cultural studies, all the different types of analysis and checkpoints with the council for the project to move forward in this process, and the design and right-of-way acquisition as necessary, and then ultimately the construction period. So getting back here, I can talk to the project development costs. And out of the town received a $200 million allocation for CDB GDR, that's Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Infrastructure Funds, to meet our unmet needs for projects like the Road Extension Project. So primarily, phase 1 and phase 2 really should be considered as partners at this point, being delivered together as they're along a similar track. We allocated about $66 million towards phase 1 out of that initial 200. And then the town also recently received a $33 million allocation through the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program. We were scored the #1 application through that program across the state. And so we're really excited about the prospects of this project moving forward as well. And so in the agenda packet, you saw that we are still pursuing full project funding. So here is a picture of the corridor, phase 1 and phase 2 combined at $132 million. So the left blue column is the total cost, and the right is the funding picture that exists today. We have, again, the 68 million, I'm so sorry, about the 68 million combined for Railroad phase 1 and 2 from CDB GDR. We also received $1.8 million in congressionally directed funds from Congressman LaMalfa to help fund the early environmental studies of the project. So we're grateful for that as well. The blue, light blue here is the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program funds, just received last December. So that leaves a gap in funds on how to complete the funding picture. With that, we are pursuing the RAISE federal opportunity through the Department of Transportation. I'm confirming the great acronym for RAISE. One moment. Okay, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. The RAISE.
I believe you didn't know that.
No, the RAISE discretionary grant program for 2024. It's a great fit for projects like this, and we're really excited and confident about submitting this application. It does have a maximum project request of $25 million. So that is the application we are developing right now and plan to submit before the call for projects ends on February 28th. A part of that is a critical vote of support and through the letter of support that's being requested of the council to show that this is a priority that was born out of the priorities set from the community in our public engagement opportunities, that we are committed to this project and support it. Also with a financial commitment as well. I mentioned the total project cost was $132 million. And so even with the Railroad phase 2 application through the RAISE program, we have a $3.8 million funding gap. And so there is no leverage or no funding match requirement on this application for the $25 million. However, the $3.8 million that the project needs itself will also go a long way to communicate our commitment to the project to deliver the overall project funding picture, make sure that the project is delivered successfully. So with that, further in your agenda item kind of outlines the accounting of the request. As a whole, we are really trying to accomplish two goals with this action item. As I mentioned, was one, communicate to the California Transportation Commission that while we still have a portion of the project unfunded, we are committed to it and we understand the rules with their funding agreements on the $33 million. And the biggest point of note here is that we cannot obligate construction funds, which is the bulk of the $33 million, until the whole construction phase itself is funded. So there is a scenario if we did not secure full $25 million from the RAISE program and we were unable to find any other avenues before we get to construction, which best case scenario looks like 2026. In that case, that they would not obligate the remainder construction funding because it's not completely funded itself. We understand that role, and we are committed to furthering the community's vision and developing the project, securing grant funds, reducing the town's overall cost liability to deliver really a transformative project that would have saved lives in the 2018 Camp Fire and could save lives in future evacuation events if necessary. So with that in mind, again, I'll recap. The town is being asked to consider an obligation of local funds out of our Paradise Recovery and Operations Fund in the amount of $3.8 million. That would likely be allocated towards in the fiscal year 26-27. And so at this point, that is the presentation I have for the council. I'm glad to answer any questions and any clarifications you might have.
Any questions?
Yeah. Where does this tie into Clark Road?
So the actual alignment, and I can bring up a better conceptual exhibit. This one here is really, again, a concept or an alternative that would be further evaluated in the environmental review. I will say we are looking, it's looking much more favorable, again, to try and leverage what already exists along Bennett and route and reduce the length of a potential bridge. If you're following my mouse, a potential bridge up in this area and then come back down. And if you actually, it might be worth the time here to open up our town internal GIS. And I can show.
So that's down south, that's South Liberty, down Bennett and across.
Yes, and then let me turn off our zoning map. Okay.
So are you saying that is gonna happen? Sorry.
So at this point, here is a good potential alignment, which would show Anchor Way, and you can see some of the property already might exist in Butte County easements as separate parcels along this alignment that could leverage Bennett Road. And so I definitely want to take this point to acknowledge the project's infancy and that scale and that schedule that I showed about environmental design, right-of-way. And so obviously when we begin the environmental process, it's going to show us what type of property impacts that there would be, and then potentially.
I was just curious of where
no, I
that's
know.
going. And so phase one is the only thing that we have already procured.
Phase one's fully funded and ready to go.
So if we branch out into phase two to get this other connection, this is where we got to come up with some more money.
Yes.
Right. Phase two is funded all the way through, all the way to construction. Let me say that. So it's funded for environmental, it's funded for design, and it's and it's also funded for right of way for those potential acquisitions.
Okay. So that's phase one. How much more money do you need for phase one to build phase one?
We do not need any funding to build phase one. All we need is $3.8 million to.
No. Hold on. You're telling me that phase one, which is from Pence to somewhere, it's not phase two, does not include phase two going to Clark?
Correct.
It just goes over to, where does it go to? Edgewood?
South Libby.
To South Libby?
Yep.
That's fully funded?
Correct.
Through construction?
Correct.
Okay, that's the point I wanted to make.
Okay.
So, and part of the funding you've gotten is been for, from CDBG, DR and all that stuff, where we got a couple $100 million or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're using how much of that for that phase one?
66.
Okay. So to go get this other 25 million for the other, whatever amount of money you need to do phase two, to include phase two, you're gonna come up $3.8 million short. Why don't you take that out of CDBG DR money?
Well, that certainly could be done. If we needed to, we could look at the overall allocation plan, just like we did last month.
Okay.
And cut from other projects to allocate to this project.
Okay, but that's where I'm going with this. At some point, I've heard it said when, and I don't remember, exactly when, we did pass a resolution to take a bunch of the money we got from PG&E and spend some of it on making money in investments. And those projections and that plan that we approved said that we were gonna, initially we were gonna allocate $9 million a year to help the town run. That's increased to $14 or $15 million a year. But nonetheless, and with our investments, the plan was we would, at the end of 25 years, we would have so much money left. And then in the earliest year, the first year reports, gee, it looked like everything was doing well, we were gonna have even more money than we projected in the initial projection. And also in that plan was, we had this $20 million we set aside. It was a reserve fund. Is that where you're looking to take the 3.8 million from?
Yes, so council did provide.
Yes or no?
Well, explain it.
Yeah, so council did, in the discussion about the fiscal sustainability model, council did provide written direction, or it did provide direction to provide a reserve, and so everything that's visible and published about the fiscal sustainability model excludes a 10% reserve at the council's direction. With that in mind, I think that an opportunity exists to memorialize that better and account for it fully separately in our investment portfolio that is not currently in place. With that in mind, the $3.8 million request is one that is made with, obviously much discernment about trying to prioritize and achieve as many objectives as possible and leveraging the funding we've secured with really no local commitment at all on that portfolio of projects. And so that's the portion here with the sensitivity of the time that we are asking for a letter of support and a letter of commitment. Obviously, if we are not successful in this raised grant application, we need to come back to the drawing table and look at other options, and we can look at cutting from other projects and reallocating CDBG-DR funds, if that's the
Where I'm
direction
going
of
is,
council.
my understanding as a new council member in the early 2021, whenever we were talking about these things, was that at some point the council gave direction that we were going to have a reserve amount set aside for future unknowns. Now, I believe we've already tapped into that, and it was like in a $20 million range. I believe we've already tapped into that for the sewer project.
That's correct, as written in the staff report.
Okay, and that's fine. I think the sewer project is of maximum importance. The phase one thing, building the bridge over to Pence, I mean, I get it. This was just part of the long-term recovery plan when people died on Edgewood Lane. What I'm concerned about is if the intent was to have a reserve fund, and we're only 4.5 years away, 5 years away from the fire, we're already spending up this money. And some of the fears of the council and others on the staff are that, gee, with the unknowns of the economy and the stock market and our investment strategies, that whatever looked like really good to us last year, it looks like doom and gloom in 5 years, and we don't know what the future holds. I'm just concerned about dipping into that reserve. I mean, I understand the need, don't get me wrong. I'm all for the project, I'm not against the project. I get leveraging $3.8 million to get 25 million or whatever it is. I understand all that. I don't oppose that mentality. But if we've got $200 million of CDBG or DR funds, and we're taking $60 million of that for this phase one project, and we need another $3 million, $4 million bucks. I mean, we're taking 66 million out of that to build this bridge over to Pence Road. So if we just need another 4 million bucks, why aren't you suggesting that we take it from there and leave the reserve alone until we get down the road? Because 20 years from now, there won't be a reserve at this rate. There won't be a reserve at this rate in 4 years.
Council, if I may, because I was asked this question, and so I did some research to make sure I understand what actions actually were taken by council. So back in April of '21, this council heard the first presentation on the long-term fiscal sustainability model. And, near the end of that presentation, there were next steps that were recommended. And that first bullet on that slide was adopt a formal policy to set aside a significant portion of the PG&E settlement for operation support, recommend 80%, and establish a long-term investment management plan for those funds. So the 80% of the funds that was designed for long-term operational support, that is the part that we are tracking long-term to ensure that there's adequate long-term reserves for the community. The other 20 was intended, based upon this discussion, to utilize in means like this. And so that was apparently what was discussed back in '21. I'm just reading from the presentation. So my recommendation to you is that what didn't happen after this discussion in '21 is that policy was never actually formalized and created. And I think that's what Mark referenced earlier. And so At this point, what I'd recommend is that we will shape a formal policy to bring back to you that formalizes what you heard and discussed back in April of '21. But again, the 80% of the funds is that long-term operational support, based upon what was discussed.
I'm still questioning that. Why you didn't, why can't we take that from the CDBG DR funds? And I understand it's a leverage point. If we don't get the 25 million, then we gotta go find 33 million or whatever it is. I mean, I understand all that. The project is 5 years out, so these numbers we're looking at from what we learned in a meeting earlier, the construction costs, I mean, that stuff's just escalating. Every year that this thing comes down the line those things are gonna cost more. So, again, I have a concern, and to Jim's point, I get all the legal stuff and all that stuff. The thing is, just like with the early warning system, what the public expected was something that if I was asleep in my bed and the alarm went off, it'd wake me up, okay? So there's some things that are different. So what we expected when we said we want you to build a road, what we expected, at least what I expected when I sat up here in the dais, was when you tell me that we've got a $20 million reserve for the future, that's what we were told. It was for the future. We're not in the future yet, and it doesn't negate what you're asking for, Mark. I mean, I understand all that. That all makes sense. Isn't there another bucket to take this guarantee out of? Because this may not be spent for 5 years, if it's spent at all.
So I would respond in that certainly reallocating the 3.8 million from other projects is an option. We could amend the action plan. And if that's the direction that council would like to go, what I would recommend is that we would need to present that information and I would need direction on what projects to cut away from the project list that has been approved by the council to find the 3.8 million. And so whether that means the Foster Black Olive intersection improvements just doesn't get done.
Was phase 2 part of the plan?
Yes.
From when? You mean from
the
when?
last meeting. We approved the plan last meeting, a month ago.
Phase 2?
Yes. We allocated 4.2 from that last meeting of CDBG-DR funds towards this project. What came to light in the last month is that the RAISE program maximum grant amount is 25 million. So our 28.3 need can't be funded entirely through the RAISE program. You're right. We could bring back the action plan and take 3.8 from some other project and give it to this one and have it all work.
So you have all $200 million of CDBG-DR funds committed?
Yes, that's why we've approved the action plan amendment 3 times before the council.
Phase 1 and 2.
Phase 1 and 2, we did that already.
For the 66 million?
Yeah, but all the rest of the 200's already been allocated to projects as well.
Yes.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
We have to cancel a project to pull the money for this.
Correct.
Mark,
Yes.
just,
Spend the reserve.
so we're talking the 20% reserve. We're not talking our projected $54 million at the end.
Yeah, that's correct. Based on those, there's lots of different scenarios, especially at the last iteration. And in my recollection, the 80-20 was started, and then the council did ask for it to be changed to 90-10. And that's why the 10% is the 22 million out of the $222 million settlement. And so with that in mind, the answer to your question is yes, is that as Jim said a moment ago, this would be out of that separate
22
reserve
million.
of whether it's 10% or 22 million, or 10% or 20 million, or I'm sorry, 10% or 20%. It is separate from the actual operations model that we've been watching, as diligently as possible as our recovery grows.
But there's
the thing we can't go forward with these projects and not have some skin in the game. We've got to have some investment from our funds.
We've got skin in the game. We get $66 million in the game.
It's CDBG money.
That's all money given to us. It's not money we have in our bank, and I'm not opposed. I know, I'm the one that suggested back with our manager, we need to be able to hold back 10% for whatever, and I'm 100% with you on that. we need to have a fallback, and we want to have that. But we've already allocated this money, we've already talked about a lot of this. He's asking for a change in this now to get this, hopefully we get it 25, and if that works, we put a little bit of skin in the game and we get this project phase 1 and phase 2 completed, which I think is extremely important.
And my only point is of the 20, if it's 10%, which was recommended, if that's what the 22 million that is in this reserve bank, we've already spent 6-point-something million for the sewer project out of that piggy bank. And now we're gonna take another so half of that 22 million is gone. And then to Jim's point, since there's no policy that we've devoted on to take any of our revenue that we receive from our investments, we don't have any mechanism to replenish it. We've just so far been spending, and that's the only thing I'm questioning. I'm not opposed to the project, appreciate how you presented, but that's the only thing.
And I get it, but I don't know how you're getting that we're spending that money. We have the group of, pot of money, and
You're obligating $3.8 million of it.
Well, yeah, of the pot, we're not taking it out of this hat over here or that hat over there. This is an investment we're making. It doesn't mean we've lost our 22 million reserve. That doesn't mean that at all.
That's where it's coming from.
So what is the rest of the money obligated to? Again, if you can tell me where the rest of the money is obligated to.
What's the rest of what money?
The rest of the millions that we've gotten from PG&E. All that money, where's that obligated to where we have it already assigned to something? We don't.
We have it in investments.
Okay.
Okay,
Exactly.
Maybe I can help. I think that we have the 10% that we pulled into the reserve that you're addressing, and that is, let's say, 20,000.
Right.
You're saying we've already allocated 6, we're looking at allocating another 3.6 out of that little reserve pot.
Right.
And that's your concern, is that we're drawing down that reserve
Yeah.
part, and I think Greg's comment is, this is what we have it for.
That's what it's there for, to do this.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we lost our 22 million of 10% that's set aside. It's in investments.
Okay, we have no mechanism to replenish it. And I guess it's the way I understand, when you tell me, here's a reserve, because the whole recovery plan was like, here's the money, we got $200 million, we're gonna put this much here, we're gonna use this much to operate the town to get us through the next 25 years. And so it's kind of like, oh, well, okay, right away 2 projects, so we spent that, and we're not gonna put anything back there. So one of the reports we saw, our money wasn't gonna last us 25 years. It was only gonna last us 19 or 21.
Worst case scenario.
Worst case, not.
Right, I'm just saying.
That's if the bottom falls out and everything goes bad.
Okay, well, if I have a savings account and I take money out of it, and I have any mechanism to put the money back, once all the money's spent, it's gone. Yeah, it's my money, and I might still have money in checking, but if that money's there, I mean, you're right, I get the point, it was for whatever we need. We're year 5 and we've spent half of it, and we're not putting anything back.
Half of the 10%, but not the 50 million that we were gonna have in the sustainability.
Right.
So we'll still have operational money.
Okay, I won't belabor the point anymore.
Are there any other questions from the dais on this?
My question, I think you know where I'll be going with this. Number one, I just want to point out that I really like the fact that you're using Bennett, because it looks like you're using Bennett for phase 1 and phase 2. Am I correct on that?
Phase 1 would tie in at South Libby. Phase 1, to tie on the west side of Bennett, east side of Bennett. That really hasn't been memorialized. Our goal is to work with property owners, find the solution that makes the most sense, utilize unusable land, and really approach every individual property owner with empathy, collaboration, and equity and fairness. And so no decisions have been made. Those types of things come through in the environmental review process that would take about 18 months and then have checkpoints with this council.
So here is kind of my concern with that, and so I'm a little bit familiar with that area. That is kind of if it's where I think it is, that is a dirt road, so we're probably good, because it's been being used as a road anyway.
Yep.
I mean, we're probably fine there. We're probably fine up through even phase 2, because isn't phase 2 still on Bennett? Am I reading that correctly?
It could be, yeah.
It breaks off in 9.
Yeah.
Does it? Okay.
And I don't want to, again, rule out any option of, like, say the least impactful option would be to tie into South Libby down here and avoid this leg of Bennett.
Yeah.
And then you jog up. that's still, having an east-west connection, again, we're not trying to build another Skyway here, we're trying to build an evacuation route to
Got it.
make our community safer. So that's our goal. What's the best way we can do that? I don't even know that at this point.
Okay, so here's my concern, and I think we've talked about this before, is that I get that you're not even sure where it's gonna land. I'm hearing that right now, where I maybe didn't hear that before. My concern is we have property owners that are in probably various stages of rebuilding. So if they know or have the possibility that this road may be coming through, or we may be asking them for land, or however that's gonna work its way out, it's better that we make contact with them sooner than later.
Yep.
So if they look at, okay, I have this lot, I can either build here, I can build over there, and they can build over here and keep it away from where the road may come in, that's a decision that's really valuable to them.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna be loath to do any type of, and I meant no pain, I think you already know that about me. So, that's would be, like, I guess my cautionary tale is as soon as we can get out there and start talking to property owners, before they start making final plans for where they're building and where they're putting their septic tanks and things like that, it'd be helpful.
Totally agree, but bad information is as bad as not giving them any information.
Yeah.
And if we tell them we're thinking about doing this and we don't even come close to that, we go somewhere else. Now they say, well, you said you were
Just
coming
that,
here.
yeah.
So we've got to make sure we have good information before we presume to present it.
Yeah, no, I get that, and that's the first time I've kind of heard that he's not really sure where we're gonna be laying this down. So when I see something like this, I kind of go, okay, well, this is where we're gonna do it, but
Yeah.
I get that, so I understand the hesitate of contacting owners at
Yeah,
this point.
it's
But it is
more,
important that you have information.
that's what they.
Any other questions from the
Yeah,
audience?
so when does that get decided, Mark, where it'll actually go? What
Yeah,
part?
so that's what the true spirit of the environmental process is.
Okay,
is
so
to
during that
engage
phase.
property owners, really have workshops and community feedback and try and find out what the sticking points are and finding what the best avenue to do the project with as least amount of impacts as possible. And so the schedule, like I said, for that would be about 18 months, and we haven't even started. We've just executed contracts with Jacobs, and we're issuing a task order for the delivery of the full environmental document of phase 1 and 2 that would really kick this off in a way that allows us to start gathering information, engaging property owners, scheduling meetings, coming up with alternatives on the alignment, and then really seeing where the impacts would be to reduce them. That's our goal.
All right.
And if you don't get the 20.
Dina, are there any cards on this item?
I have no cards on this item.
Does anybody from the public want to speak on this item? Hearing none, do I hear a motion on this?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Tryon. Roll call vote, Vice Mayor Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Crowder?
I need to ask one question. If we don't get the 25 million, what happens to the 30 that we have and the money that we're putting in?
That's a great question. So here, I'll pull up the map here, one more time. Okay, so phase 1 is fully funded. We could build it independent of everything else, pending, that the council and the community still wants to build it. Phase 2, we are searching for 25 million through the RAISE application, and we're asking for additional 3.8 million that gives the whole project its complete funding. Your question is, what if we don't get the 25? Would that allow us to reconsider the overall funding picture on how we fill that 28.3 gap?
I guess my question is would we go again to the reserve for another 25 million?
Oh,
That's,
no.
so I
No.
mean, what happens there?
Yeah, and so what's great about that we are funded all the way up to construction is we have about 2 fiscal years to get this thing tied down. This RAISE program is highly competitive, although I can't find another community that's been through what we have that would be this competitive for this program. With that said, our expectations should be we're going to be competitive. We could get the grant, we could not. And so the event that we do not, we would reapply next year. And really, it's going to be part of our federal advocacy platform and making contacts with DOT and legislators. And we have support letters already from, our state senators, Assemblyman Gallagher, HCD, there's a lot of support coming in for this project. But if the answer is no, we keep going. And say if it's still no and no and no, and we have a $28 million project gap, that's when we come back to the council and say, I think we're really in a difficult spot to make some tough choices. We may not be able to move this project forward at all, and we give the $33 million allocation, or what's left of it, back to the California Transportation Commission. Or we find another grant and move this forward. But I don't think you would hear from staff, or you can make those decisions as a council, as a recommendation, to find other local funds, but I don't see that, just from my staff recommendation.
Thank you, that answers my question, so aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
That was a good explanation, because that was my question too. What if we don't get the money? Because this is a different phase. I'll vote yes. Aye.
Councilmember Tryon?
Aye.
And Mayor Lassonde?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mark, can I recommend, like, in future staff reports for this, for me, at least personally, like, knowing that little information you just added on to Steve's question about all the support you already have and that background, that's way more important to me as a decision maker than some of this other jargon.
I understand, that is a good point, and I'll include that in future items.
Yeah, I mean, even if you put it in the staff report that we get in an email,
Yep.
it's just that's really helpful, knowing that that you have done that due diligence,
Yep.
and you have all those people on board with this.
Those letters, I think we put out about 20 letters of requests for support, and I think
That's
we've
good.
gotten almost all of them back.
Yeah, that's
So it's great.
important information for us to have.
Yep, thank you.
Let's move on to item 6D. Hear information on the opportunity to invest in the Chico Regional Airport from the Chico Airport Manager.
Okay, good evening, again, Mayor and Council. So tonight, we have an excellent opportunity to speak with representatives from the Chico Airport to talk about an investment opportunity and how to move forward with this. The staff report you have in front of you gives a little bit of background, but the representatives we have here are going to walk through that information, and I will hand it over to them now to do so.
Perfect. Good evening, and thank you for having us. We're grateful to be here and excited to tell you some of what we have going on in working to return air service to our community. And I say community, even though, yes, the airport is the Chico Regional Airport, but what we'll be bringing will be serving not just Chico, but the region. And I'm going to go to the next slide. So one of the big parts of this and why we're here tonight is talk about the support that we are building to get this airline to come back. Airlines are looking for a revenue guarantee to come in. It's a very competitive market right now. We're competing with dozens of other communities around the country that are also trying to get either air service to return or to grow what they already have. And so we have been building this incentive package to offer to airlines, and a big part of that is the Revenue Guarantee Fund. And what it does is not only incites them to come, it gives them a little bit of help on the risk of starting service in a new area. Next slide. So what's the benefit of bringing air service? Yes, it was lost in the past, but what benefit would we see? So since it left in 2014, in 2019 we had a study done that was based on what we had prior, 30-seat aircraft, and the benefit that it would bring to our region. And in 2019, that number for just a 30-seat aircraft for twice a day was about $10 million a year in economic benefit to the region. We're looking at bringing in larger aircraft, minimum of 50-seat jet, possibly up to a 160-foot seater. It really depends on which carrier we end up getting in. And our goal is to have it on the ground and operating by fall of 2025, possibly sooner. So where are we with our revenue guarantee? We have made some headway. We have been talking with communities and organizations around the region, and we have it up to $945,000 currently in our cash value. We have a goal of 1.5 million. Airlines have said they want a minimum of $1 million, but since we're competing with many different other communities, we have a goal to get that to 1.5 to help us be more competitive, so they want to come to Chico. Part of this process has been us also seeing if there are airlines interested in coming to Chico. And there are airlines that do want to come here. We have 2 that we're looking to go out and visit their headquarters here this spring that have both expressed a lot of interest in Chico. And we've been talking back and forth with them on how we can make this process move forward. And I'm going to turn some time over to Lindsay to talk about how Paradise can help.
So levels of support. I would say too, to Tom's point, the biggest difference in the airline that we're looking to bring back to the region right now is not to SFO. I know a lot of people have some bad feelings about being left in San Francisco. This flight would go to LAX and looking to bring travel to Southern California back to the area. Before we go into the levels of support, as we look at this opportunity for the Town of Paradise and the Revenue Guarantee Fund, there's a few reasons why we thought of you guys as a fit for this opportunity. At the August council meeting, you talked about, or the Paradise Chamber came and talked about different demographics that you're looking to bring to the area and real areas of opportunity for the town's continued growth. They talked about the first-time home buyer and looking at young families. They talked about mommy bloggers, and as a mom myself to 2 young kiddos, your brain is always working in logistics of how you can get kids to school, how you can get where you need to go. So how can you make something even better by making it easy to get somewhere or easy for someone to get to you? I know we all like our free family help too, so being able to get back is always great. On top of that, I think about the flight to LA and the opportunity to go to a weekend trip to Disneyland and making that lifestyle here even better, that you have that bedroom community as well as the ease of travel that you need. So by investing in the airport, it will allow the region to be just as accessible and affordable as, say, a Reading or a Red Bluff, and we won't lose population moving out of Butte County to somewhere where both affordability and ease of travel is. So with that, we came up with different levels of investment that we're offering to only certain members of the region as far as branding and being with the airport as we get off the ground. So Colette, if you want to, the first option, there's going to be 3 different options that we're looking at. This one is the on-site branding. So your investment level would come in at the $75,000. And if you want to just switch over the slide, we did a mock-up of what that could look like. You're going to get on-site signage, just to show if someone lands in Paradise to get them up here to come travel and visit. If maybe someone's living in Chico and you're thinking about wanting them to also think about living in Paradise, you guys could have branding that way as well. So we just mocked up 2 ways in which that could look so you could get the imagination flowing. Okay, and then the next one is the $100,000 level. So again, you're getting that real estate at the airport. We're calling real estate, that branding on site. And then you're also going to be opened up into what we're calling our partner marketing. So that partner marketing means that we're going to market the airport once we have an airline that's coming, and we're going to market the airport to the entire region. The Town of Paradise or partner with the Town of Paradise would be included in that marketing. That would be for 3 months' time, and then there's going to also be destination marketing on the other end, trying to get people here to visit, not just people who already live here out of the area. The third option is, and then we mocked that up. That's right. So we have the different signage. It comes at a bigger landscape, and you have the opportunity to, again, have a bigger display within the airport.
Go back and just look at that really quick. Oh, you got it. Okay.
So that's as you're walking in the tarmac, and that's when you're going into the parking lot.
And these are just examples.
Yes, just ideas.
Yeah, these are things that we understand, having talked a little bit about this before, that these options could be a pretty collaborative discussion about the different types of marketing and where and what we would like to do, so.
And then the largest of the investment options, again, we're looking at really getting pretty broad as far as what your real estate could look like at the airport. So we threw in some very big ideas, but a Town of Paradise specific installation, maybe you paint the rooftop of a building. It would be much bigger in that capacity. Obviously, with that type of money investment, we would want to make it worth your while that you were able to be seen within the airport. The partner marketing in the local area would go from 3 to 6 months, and the destination marketing would go from 3 to 6 months as well. So just to Colette's point, all of those mock-ups are just ideas so that we could get your imagination going as far as what those different tiers look like. We're not set on any one of these numbers, but this just shows you the levels that we're looking at in order to participate in those different types of real estate opportunities at the airport and in co-marketing.
One-time investment,
One-time investment.
and it goes for how long?
We have no terms.
So 20 years from now, that investment will keep going?
So I'm not at liberty to answer that you guys have a 20-year mark on it, but we don't have any terms today.
Those would be items, depending on what it is and what levy you come in at, that we'd be negotiating with you and talking about how long you're going to have the advertisement there. Is this something that you helped us get to this point? Let's keep it there for 20 years, perhaps.
So we'll be competing with other jurisdictions in that situation. You got 945,000. How'd you get to that point? How did you get to that number?
So that amount is made up of $500,000 in a grant that we received, and then the rest has been fundraising. The city has put in $125,000, but the other remaining amount, the entities have asked us not to disclose their names yet, but that will be coming soon.
Okay, but other towns, you say just Chico has put in 125,000?
Just
Correct.
Chico so far.
At this point?
At this
Yeah,
point.
and this opportunity, the different levels of support, obviously, we're never going to say no to money coming in. If any organization that wants to bring in $500 to $50,000, but these levels of support are coming to what we're calling the first 5. So we went to 5 organizations that we thought would be the best fit. The Town of Paradise is one of those 5. And we're not offering this to just anybody, basically, at any level.
So, sorry, Greg.
Go ahead.
So, is Chico the only city in Butte County so far that's contributed?
Yes.
Yes, they are. And to add to that, 125,000, there are other ways they are committed as well. Part of it is getting the terminal ready for having air service, which is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it to that point.
Well, I get that, but that is in their city too.
It is,
Yeah.
exactly.
So there is there's a guarantee amount of money that you need, to make them happy to come.
Right, but they'll even
So-
talk to us.
Yeah.
So that means that they want to know that if they don't make revenues one year, they take from that fund to supplement that. That
Correct.
fund gets down to nothing. You're coming back to us?
So there's a 2-year period that they have access to that money. And the goal is that initial startup, they'll probably need to tap into it. But that we do our marketing right, we get people to use it, and they have to tap into it very little.
Then it's up to them to get their marketing and get people.
That they'll probably ask us to assist them with marketing.
Right, the city of Chico would
Yes.
invest, or T-Bridge would invest, someone else would invest in bringing butts and seats here locally, as well as just the airline themselves now being available here.
So I have a couple questions. First one is, what airlines are you looking at?
So we're a little hesitant to say their names now. There's a variety we've looked at.
We could say they're a major
We could say they're
airline.
major
Can we say they're a
major airlines.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've been out there at least one.
Yes,
Yeah, one of them has, it was the previous airline, and there are others that are interested as well. And so, really, there's 3 or 4 that we've really talked to, and it's down to 2 that are really the most interested.
So out of this top 5 that you're talking to now, how many of them are towns and cities?
3.
Okay, so 3 out of the 5 are towns and cities, okay. And then the second question is, I guess, is why LA? I mean, so when I look at what kind of our demographics and people that are here, they seem to be coming more out of the Bay Area. And so there's a telecommuting that's potentially happening into the Bay Area, like say from the Town of Paradise, like they may leave here and then telecommute to the Bay Area for a couple days. So that would make it kind of not as useful for us as a town.
So the study that I mentioned a little earlier, part of that study was determine which location. And even still today, over 60% of the people that travel from our catchment area go to LA.
That's not true.
It is.
Yeah,
Part of the problem is fog in San Francisco.
So the other thing about San Francisco, and I get that there's weather conditions and things like that, so I end up going like out of Oakland a lot, which has the same major airlines. It's actually less expensive. Oakland's not as desirable maybe, but as San Francisco. But the flights are all still there. There's still great connecting flights out of there that still put you into the Bay Area. So was that also considered? And you don't have the fog issue as bad?
So a part of it is, dependent on the study is part of it, and where that information came from and where people are traveling. And that's based on ticket sales and ticket sales of where people are going.
Ticket sales from where?
From
2014?
No, from now.
Yeah.
So initially, 2019 was the initial study, and then we did a survey recently that over 60% of the people are going to LA area.
Are you looking at the Reading market?
Not Reading, it's our catchment area, which is Butte County, part of Tacoma County, Glenn County areas. So.
Whenever I fly anywhere, and I have no desire to go to LA. If I'm gonna go to LA, I'll drive. But whenever I fly, and I'm not a telecommuter, I'm retired, but, you know, I go into Sacramento to catch a flight to Mexico or Hawaii or wherever I gotta go, you know, I mean, I would not fly to LA to go anywhere. I wouldn't even fly to LA. I mean, you know, it's just, I mean, so I don't know where you got your numbers about whatever people you polled that go to LA a lot. I mean, it certainly isn't me or anybody I know.
So are you set on LA, like there's no changing that, you're going to LA?
There's a possibility for change. It really depends on airlines' interests, where their studies have done of where it's going to work best for them as well. Actually, the second item on there was Las Vegas. That's the second destination. And San Francisco is in there, but a lot of the reason why it failed initially was because of us going to San Francisco. And it created a lot of delays, a lot of the weather delays from coming out of here, and people stopped using it.
Did you try Oakland though?
We haven't looked into Oakland.
The other reason why LA is so much of an interest for an airline is because we're driving distance from San Francisco. We're 3.5, 3 hours without traffic. LA, we're like 10 with traffic and everything else. So a flight that gets you there in 45 minutes is much more of ease as someone who's commuting for work or going to a meeting or using it as a main hub to then jump to a bigger plane. It was a better artery than San Francisco or the Bay Area because it is driving us.
The city of Chico owns the airport.
Okay, so at some point, if you get an airline in there, is parking free right now?
It is, and it.
Okay, and if they get an airline in there and you start service, the city of Chico monetize that, period. They've already done their downtown streets, all their parking in the center of town, so the employees have a difficulty even getting to work and park. So they're gonna monetize that. So my deal is when I fly somewhere, unless I'm going to Disneyland or some reason to go to LA, I'm going to Sacramento, I'm driving an hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes. I'm paying $10 a day for parking, and then I'm getting on an airplane and transferring to go to Cabo or wherever I'm gonna go. It just makes more sense that if they're gonna put an airport in there, let me get down to Sacramento and keep going. Because they're parking, they're gonna monopolize, I mean, it's gonna,
Eventually, it probably will happen, that they'll charge,
Absolutely, yeah.
but initially, at least for the first several years, it'll be free.
So what happens if
they don't use any of that $1.5 million?
So there are a couple options. There are two different ways that you can contribute. You can do just a donation and it stays there, and the goal is that it's going to be used to further pursue development of maybe another route or the airport itself. Or you can do an investment type where you can get the money back. We'll still, if there's money left over for that, like, hey, let's try and make another route successful. But you'd have that option to get the money back.
So if you pick LA, does that preclude picking a second route in a year later or something like that?
It does not.
What's your thoughts on, expanding the route to Sacramento or to Las Vegas or whatever? What's your thoughts?
Definitely. That's our goal, is to grow this, get the first one successful, and grow it from there. And whatever destination makes sense at that time.
So you're asking for money in hand to actually get the money or a commitment?
Money in hand, cash.
Kind of knew the answers.
I'll make sure.
So the airlines have been very clear, they're not interested in signed commitments. They want to see the cash.
No, I don't mean the airlines. I mean with this, whatever this is, this group or whatever. Are they looking for commitments? And then once you get to the 1.5 in commitments, then everybody puts in?
Yes.
So there could be a couple of ways we do that. We're actually mirroring the Reading process they did quite a bit. And one thing they've done is they've had it to where groups would contribute and they'd have a signed letter saying once there's an agreement in place, you'd put the remainder of it in. So it'd be a portion and then the remaining once there is an actual airline saying they're coming.
Thank you.
So our decision has to be whether or not we think airline service to LA, to and from LA, out of the Chico Airport, has any real benefit to the town of Paradise in its economic development or any other way, shape, or form.
Well, our decision right now is to ask staff to put something together to bring back to us. Right.
Yes.
Ask the staff to bring something back to us.
Yes, so the item,
Because we just gave all the money to Mark, so.
I was going to say.
You're a little
so the
late.
item tonight,
$8 short, sorry.
the item tonight really is just for direction to staff on how to move forward with this opportunity. If we should continue working with the airport representatives to put together an agreement, and if so, direction on how that agreement should be drafted, and then that would come back to council for approval.
Before we get to the agreement, I need to hear the answer to Woody's question. What's the benefit, from your perspective, what's the benefit to our town to have an airport functional that takes flights down to LA? What's that do for the town of Paradise?
Sure. So from my perspective, there are two lanes of benefit here. The first is just the existence of the airport with a functional route. And I think there are benefits to having the route to LA for the reasons that were just discussed, that it is a place that is further than reasonable driving distance, so it is a route that would be really viable for this area. We do see in the Chamber's presentation there's significant interest from Southern California in the Paradise area, and so I think there is benefit to that. It also is a benefit for our current residents and future residents when they're looking at Paradise as a place to raise a family, to move, or to move a business. Having an airline, having air travel within very reasonable driving distance is an asset. So that's the first benefit to us. So it really is purely the service aspect. The second is the advertising aspect. So there are benefits to the advertising that, these ideas that are being presented. It's hard to quantify what that benefit would be. So that is something we could explore further.
Yeah.
But there are certainly benefits to having that type of advertising. I'm sure you're familiar at the Sacramento airport with the type of advertising you see there. It's very well done, it's very eye-catching, and depending on how much of it there is, it stays with you. I think about the Chico State advertising that you see there and the Sacramento State advertising there. So, that is something to think about as well. So that's an additional benefit. Those are the two benefits that I see from an investment into the airport.
I was kind of thinking of Paradise on the side of a plane.
We don't have control over that.
Oh, okay.
So I think, we kind of have a tendency to look at it from, okay, how would we use it personally? But then also the flip side of that is it could potentially bring more people here.
Yeah.
And I would think especially like during all the graduations, that would be really beneficial if you get, if we do get really targeted on our advertising. Paradise is a place that people could want to come up here and spend a weekend.
It's a destination.
Yeah, and we just need to sell it that way, so.
And I, two things from me. I think there is some value to that. And I do want to be a team player in Butte County. I don't want to be a stepchild up here on the ridge. I didn't mean that bad.
We will always be
anyway.
a stepchild.
But I do believe that there is possible value to this. I would like to see the staff at least bring it back to us.
Yeah.
And show the benefits and stuff and let us talk about it. I think it's something to think about, consider. Interesting. I got some of my questions answered. I still got to think about it. But I think it's interesting.
I do definitely think there's a benefit to it. I'd kind of like to see every town or city in Butte County buy in and the county as well. And I think that's a regional of everybody that it touches. And, kind of like our Butte County, what is it?
Explore Butte County.
Thank you,
Seated.
Explore Butte County, where, the whole county except for one city participates. And that's kind of what I'd like to see.
I don't buy the advertising thing for the money. I mean, you can buy a big billboard in LA for $75,000. I mean, I get it, some part of that. What Steve's comment was, I would be interested in supporting it and being a partner, to Greg's point, be good team players. I can see how it has value for the region. I definitely, but unless everybody else in the community wants to join in, then I'd be reluctant. And here's why, it's not that it's a bad idea, or it's not that I don't want to go to LA. There's not that many, it's going to be ridership, the whole advertising thing. It depends on how many people, ride, How many people are going to drive by and see one banner or two sandwich boards, visit Paradise. We have a limited amount of money and we have very little commercial development. We're trying to rebuild from a catastrophe. And every nickel and dime we have, like you saw earlier, is being challenged or being questioned. And we have an obligation to the 10,000 people that live here now to do that, to spend the money to rebuild this town and provide all the services we can. And that's my number one priority. It's a good idea. I'm not Chico. I don't have all the businesses and the commercial tax revenue that they have, We don't even know if we're going to be sustainable 15 years from now. We're working hard to guarantee that we are, but that's still an unknown. And so my responsibility today with the few dollars we have is to spend them locally first and guard them. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but staff would have to come back and say, here, we've got an extra little bit of money here, that we could spend. We could be a player at $75,000 or something. It's not a lot of money you're asking for. But so, that would be my thing. Come back and show me where we really have some extra funds that we could be a player in this, because otherwise, every nickel and dime I got is to rebuild this town.
So just really quick, this is just on the travel terminal, because there's also, like parcel that comes in and shipping and things like that too.
Yeah, I think the direction
Does that
I'm
make
hearing
sense?
from my
It's
fellow
just
council
travel.
members is that we want the staff to bring it back.
Can I just finish my question, please?
I'm sorry.
You're just talking about the terminal
Correct.
for travel, not
Correct,
terminal
not for cargo.
Okay, thank you. That was it, thanks.
So the direction is for staff to bring it back to us. We have a track record where we have spent money to bring tourists here, the TOT money, so that is something that, we're not breaking new ground.
Hey,
But
that's already committed.
I'm not saying take it away, I'm just saying we
A portion
have
of it is
agreed
committed.
that it's important to try and attract tourists, because tourists eventually become residents, or some of them do. So I'd like you guys to look at that and give us a good, look, detailed dive on it. I'm looking, from my perspective, an ROI. We're gonna spend X amount of money, what are we gonna get back out of that? So if you do something like that, that would help me out.
Well, and also, when you come back, one of the things that, to make some of our decision-making easier is give us, what airline, give us some real information, we need to know that. But I think if you can get the other people to join in, it's a lot easier for me to be supportive. Right now, it's like I'm keeping my money at home.
So just for quick clarification, because there's some pretty broad parameters between just kind of being a good regional partner to trying to negotiate something that has high benefit for the town. And I think I'm hearing that you want us to look at negotiating what we think could be the best deal for us to create exposure for us, as well as being a partner. Is that correct?
I think it's a little hard to do that without knowing all the particulars.
Oh, exactly. No, we have to bring that back to you, but I think that's what I'm hearing is that you want to see what that could look like.
But you need to show me how the real benefit, not just some signboards, not just some advertising. That's pretty generic.
Right.
That's show me how specifically, if there's some data, like their survey shows the majority of people want to fly to LA. Not my reality, but
Skywriting, how about
Have the airlines, quick question.
No
have the
Dodger
airlines-
fans, I take it.
Have the airlines shared data with you as to where they think their ridership is going to want to go?
They haven't necessarily shared their data with us, but we've shared our data with them from the studies that we've had, and they've confirmed that that seems about right from what they're seeing.
All right, I think we've given direction. If there's no other questions, thank you. Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item 7A, council-initiated items. Specifically, 7A1, discussion of laydown yards, citations, and utility work on private roads. That's yours,
That's mine, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Listen, I put that on there because I had a conversation with a code enforcement officer, and we passed an ordinance because the laydown, people were building laydown yards all over town, and it was creating havoc, and people complaining. So we made some rules, and we said, here's what you gotta do, and you gotta get a permit. And so some people did, they got permits, but they didn't follow all the rules. And so in trying to police that, I've had a conversation with PG&E. I said, why are we having to spend taxpayer dollars to go tell your subcontractor employees to follow the rules? Anyway, what Tony shared with me was, this goes back to, God, when I was on the council before, years ago. We had a director of public works or whatever, who believed the way he read the code book was, when somebody is in violation, we send them a letter and we tell them they have to comply, and then we give them a certain amount of time to comply. If we don't hear anything back, then we send another letter, and eventually we get around to where we issue them a citation. And then it says in the code book that anybody that receives a citation has 10 days to appeal a citation. So then we wait 10 days before we do anything else. So anyway, the point is, in another part of the code, it says we can cite somebody for violations of the code every day they're in violation. And we don't use that. And I've always advocated when we have gross violators that we should use that. So I'm talking about the laydown yards that have not followed the rules, they don't have signage up with a phone number. So if a resident has a complaint about dust or whatever they're doing, they can call and talk to somebody about it. Instead, they'll call us and we send out code enforcement. And so our process from that old methodology that we still incorporate, we send a letter to the property owner. Now, the property owner doesn't live here, he's rented his yard to this construction company as a laydown yard. So we send a letter to them, and then we wait for compliance, and we don't get compliance, and we don't even hear anything. And so at some point we either abate it, which we pay the attorneys a lot of money to do, or, eventually it goes on the tax roll. So my question to Tony was, why can't we cite the violator, this construction company that's on the site? And he said he can. So I brought this up for discussion because if there's consensus on the council, it would be great to give direction to staff that, like, from now on, when you have a violator, cite the violator. And my example is this: if I'm driving a town vehicle and I go out here and I go down Skyway at 90 miles an hour and CHP pulls me over, they're not going to send the ticket to the town of Paradise. They're going to give me, the violator, the ticket. These subcontractors for PG&E and Comcast and AT&T and some of the construction companies are the violators. And whether the landowner lives in town or not, I just think that we need to, our goal is we want compliance. So give the violator the citation and let those ones know we're going to send a copy of this to PG&E or whoever they work for, because then we'll get compliance, and because we're getting compliance eventually. That doesn't satisfy the citizenry. When a citizen calls you or me, or any of us that are elected to be here, complaining about a situation, we say we'll look into it, and then it could take a month or 2 or 3 or 6. I mean, we have things on that report we got for code enforcement. I mean, they've been on there for years, because our processes, like government is, are so laborious. So that's why I put this on here to talk about that. And also the work, the other aspect was work on private roads. I had a citizen complain to me, it was on a private road. Early on, when PG&E quit putting Comcast and AT&T pipe in the ground because they didn't want to reimburse them for it. So they've gone back onto some private roads and had to dig up the road again. This one particular complaint I got was about a Comcast crew. They're driving rental vehicles. They were not English speaking. They were not following any proper construction protocols and digging up the road. They backfilled the trench with the dirt they dug out of the trench, which is not compliant with how this work is supposed to be done. So when I asked staff about it, like, hey, do we have any control over the work that's being done in the utility easement on a private road? And I'm told we have no jurisdiction over private roads. The problem with that argument, for me, is that Comcast is a franchisee of the town. They are the cable company we allow to be in town. We can certainly mandate whether they're on a private road or not, the quality of the work they do or how they do the work, you know. And so those are the two things I brought up for discussion. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I would like Tony to have the authority and the support of the council to cite the violators when he finds them. And on the private roads, I'd like to maybe, you know, get a clarification from council or the staff, like, if Comcast is our franchisee person for cable, we should be able to mandate what they do on a private road and how they do it. Because what they've been doing has not been up to par. So that's it. It's my 2 cents.
So that's to bring back to us?
Pardon me?
This is something you want them to bring back to us?
Well, that's up to you guys. I mean, if you all think it's not a big deal, you know, yeah, I mean, if there's enough, I would like them to, is that what I want, Tony?
Well, I don't think we can make a decision tonight on anything.
No, I mean, but I just wanted, I mean, those are things I have to comment on.
I'd like to hear more, the possibilities more about too, because I've had the same complaints.
Right.
So I can clear up a couple things, because we have it in the municipal code, right? So reading right out of the municipal code, right? After 3 days written notice, and we do have to give a written notice for a building or zoning violation, okay? We can cite the violator, the person, the property owner, for any violation of the municipal code, okay? And then going back to your other question about, you know, citing them every day. And we do have that also in the municipal code. So, you know, each and every day violation of any provision of the municipal code exists. It constitutes a separate and distinct offense. So we could cite them daily, but we first obviously have a process. We have to give them a written notice when it's a building and zoning. And the laydown yards is a temporary use permit, and that's out of zoning, right? So we do have to give them 3 days notice, right?
So, and again, I hope we can bring this back and we can discuss it more after we get more research, but you're gonna start taking a certain thing and start fining them every day, when there's other code violations around town that you don't cite them every day. How do you distinguish which ones you should violate or cite every day and which ones you shouldn't cite every day? I don't think that's what government should be doing. We can't pick between them and say, well, I don't like you, so I'm gonna cite you every day, but I understand you and I'm not gonna cite you every day. That just doesn't make sense.
No, the only reason I mentioned that was as an example. I didn't mean that.
Well, I know, but you said egregious. There's a lot of things that are egregious that happen, but we can't just pick and choose which ones we do every day and which ones we do every week.
Gotta be consistent.
Well, when it's a health and safety code, they move a lot quicker on that, right?
But I think the first question was, can we cite the contractor rather than the property owner?
We can.
The answer is yes, we can. Are you doing that now, today?
We have cited individuals out there.
The individual, not the property owner?
Correct.
Okay.
Somebody creating a violation.
You have done that?
We have.
When?
Well, I don't know. Most recently, I did see a citation when I was walking by code enforcement desk that was written out to a person doing a violation. I don't know what it was.
Is the person that's doing the violation, is that your process now to say, okay, if a lay-down yard is in violation, you're going to go to whoever, the foreman or whatever it is, and they get the violation? Or how does that work?
We would first have to give them the notice of violation.
Okay.
And then, so if it continued after that, we could go out and cite the individual.
And I get that part of the process, I'm not asking about that one, I'm fine with that. The question I'm asking is who gets it? Is it the contractor there that did the violation, or is it the property owner?
Potentially, it's the person that's doing it.
Okay, that's your policy to your code enforcement folks to do it that way?
Well, we do. We do it to the person and to the property owner, right? I mean, it's a variety of, if nobody's on site and we see something, I mean, it's, a lot of these times there's nobody there, right?
Yeah, but you have them come in and get a temporary use to do that, so you know who's doing the laydown yard, do you not?
We do. We know which contractors have
Call them
that.
up and say, hey, we've got this violation, come pick it up.
Oh, we do have the contact information for every laydown yard that's out there for contractor. You know, if someone has to come in and submit the application, they sign the application along with the property owner signs it. So we could.
So council members, I think the staff direction question is there a majority of you that believe this process should be improved? And do you want to direct us to see if we can somehow improve the process? I think that really is the question.
Yeah, because we have like 19, was it 19? 19
We have-
laydown yards, 10 of which were in violation of our ordinance, okay? None of which have gotten a citation. The property owners have. When Tony...
Property owners have gotten a violation?
We have not written a citation to the
sent a
landowners.
letter.
We did the notice of violation to them, and we worked with the individuals. This last time, it was the weather event, a bunch of signs were down. Right. And so they're replacing the signs, right? I
Okay,
think that was.
Tony sent a list of PG&E of 19 yards, 10 of which were in violation. 2 weeks ago?
It was 17.
2 weeks ago?
And 8 were in violation.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, because we asked PG&E for their cooperation because they were the subs. So we sent them to PG&E, we asked them, list out your subs, and if you could assist us in doing this. So we're trying to work the problem to get.
That's a problem. They were...
Well, let him answer. I mean, he's telling us what's going on. You're saying stuff, and he's saying they're not exactly true, so.
So we worked with them, and then they got, our goal is compliance, right? To bring them back into compliance. And so they came back to us with a plan for all their subs, and we're gonna reach out also with PID. What we didn't do a good job on, and I'll admit, when the contractors came in, we didn't ask who they were subbing for, right? So Tiger comes in, does the application, we're dealing with the contractor, we're dealing with the owner, but we didn't capture who they're subbing for. So we can do better in that regard. So we can also, add to our enforcement capacity, because, PG&E, I think we had a meeting with them prior to that ordinance coming into effect. They want to be good partners with us.
I haven't seen Nick Tovar on a bunch of signs for the laydown yards. I mean, I'm seeing it going up. I'm seeing the ribbons around where it looks like the septic tank.
Correct. Every new.
They're not their subs. Not all of their subs. My point was simply that he sent the information out to PG&E. It took 2 weeks for them to get back to him, and there's still some of the, and so.
Some of the laydown yards are like 1 week.
I'd like to let Tony finish so I can hear what he was going to say.
I lost my track of thought, sorry, let's see. But, so we reached out to them, we want to be good partners with them, PG&E wants to be good partners with us, and so they, came up and they replied with an action plan, because they, of course, reached out to all their subs, and came up and then we're going to reach out to the other, we're going to reach out to PID and I believe in Comcast. to help them, help us keep their sites open. You're right, we did have every application that comes in, we verify that they're meeting the ordinance requirements. And then we work with the construction inspectors who are working out in the field with them. And they communicate with us if they see anything that's, out of sorts.
Do you need any more from us?
Sorry.
I think in the municipal code, I have the requirements that you need.
Okay, so you don't need any more enforcement or anything from us to do what you need to do?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Council reports on committee representation. Start with you, Councilman Tryon.
Okay. So, BCAG was canceled this last month, but I went to Butte County Air Quality. I was appointed back onto the executive committee and also appointed onto the finance committee for Butte County Air Quality. And then on February 7th, I went to the Fire Safe Council meeting. They had a presentation by the Department of Insurance. Honestly, it's still the same thing. They talked about the cap modeling that they're gonna do to figure out what the appropriate rates are. I asked the same questions about, what type of data they're gonna use. So in other words, is it climate change is getting worse, or California has a 3-year rain cycle, drought to rain cycle? I mean, depending on how you put that in, it's gonna make a difference. And my other question was, who owns the cap models? Is it gonna be the insurance company, because then they control the data? Is it gonna be Department of Insurance, because again, it goes to our premiums? So they had no answers on either of those, so.
Went to LAFCO, and I really, that's a great committee, and I appreciate being on it. They do good work, and nothing to report that was important there. Had a solid waste meeting today, and learned some stuff, and it went well. And I'm sure there's other things, I didn't write them down, but anyway.
See?
Well, my big deal is I went to Washington DC. I missed the last council meeting because of that. We spent 4 days there talking to mainly senators about the tax relief bill for fire victims. Got a really good reception. I think we made a lot of headway. It absolutely it hit the House, just sailed through the House floor. It needed 290 votes to pass. It got 357. Was kind of expecting it would do that way in the Senate. Who figured the Senate would become just as dysfunctional as the House? So we're still hanging out in the Senate. Not sure when we're going to see it pass. The goal is still very optimistic that it's going to pass. It really needs to pass by the 15th of March because the IRS needs at least 30 days to update and correct everything and that, so hopefully that'll happen. Went to the swearing in of one of our new dispatchers, which is always a great thing to see. We're getting real close. I think we're 2 away from. One away. Beautiful. Thank you, Eric. Went to the Fire Safe Open House. Boy, have they grown. They've gone from a $700,000 budget to a $10 million budget. They've got 42 employees. They're just doing some great things. A couple other grand openings of businesses in Paradise. Councilman Culleton and I were in a meeting this morning to approve a grant to the Boys and Girls Club for 70
For,
Boys and Girls Club?
yeah, Boys and Girls Club and for Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, but Meals on Wheels was 7,000, Boys Club was 8,000. Anyway, two great organizations, so it was nice to be able to do that. That's mine.
Solid Waste Committee this morning, and we had the CDB, or what was it? CDBG recipient interviews this morning, as Steve mentioned. It's always fun to give that money out. We didn't take it out of Mark's money, so he can rest assured. And I missed the swearing-ins. I've been busy at the Performing Arts Center, and I went to Mexico, so that's why I missed some of that stuff. So that's what I know. I'm not going to LA.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I attended the Butte County Oversight Board back on the 10th of January along with our town manager, and that's the board that replaced the RDA and is overseeing it, and we were asked to provide them a look at how we're going to repay, and well, they've asked for a report, and so the town manager is working on that to pull out the old crystal ball and say this is what we think can happen over the next X number of years. Yeah. I was also at the True Value ribbon cutting. It's nice to have another hardware store in our town. It shows that we've got a lot of building going on where they have to have a second hardware store. I participated in the legislation tour of Paradise. There were a lot of legislators that came up here, and we gave them a really good tour. I really applaud Colette, all the work you put into setting that all up. I got good feedback from the people I talked with that they really appreciated the information. The ability to see how much we have gotten done in the 5 years based on the money they sent our way, and how much more we still need more money. So I think that went a long way to inform them. I did meet with at a Paradise Tourism meeting with Media Manners. They're the ones that on contract down with that, and we had a real good discussion on how we would fit into the models that they're putting together. Had an interview with Blue Flamingo for the new mayor blog that was posted on Make It Paradise. Attended the Pumptastic ribbon cutting. If you need balloons, that's the place to go. And then I also went to the Paradise Palladium ribbon cutting the other day. So if you want to play video games or throw axes at targets, that's the place to go. So that was my...
Was my picture up there? Was my picture up there?
We could put it there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hold the target.
Okay, item 7C, future agenda items. Any council member want to add anything?
Yes, I do. I want to add the discussion of the ordinance that we just, whatever, the one with the storing things on property you own. I want to talk about that. I'd like to know the history of when it was written, what the purpose of, the idea that if I own a piece of property, I bought the property next door to me, my house is here, I haven't merged the lots, I can't put my boat on that lot.
You're talking RV storage, Woody?
Huh?
You talking RV
Is it RV?
storage?
No, I was just, boat, trailer, whatever, jalopy, four-wheel drive, your stuff, I want to talk about that, I want to see what we can do to, whether we need to change it, amend it, whether we have to add the exceptions committee to that, or something, because I think there's a real issue there that we need to look at.
Okay. Anything else? Move on to item 8A, town manager report.
Just very quickly, council members, I want to just offer an apology on the short notice on item 6B, and just let you know it has nothing to do with the team that's been selected. There were just contract provisions that were not resolved that I learned from our town attorney just prior to going into closed session, that those issues were unresolved and we would need to hold off on taking action. So I alerted the mayor just prior to the meeting. So again, my apologies for not getting that to you.
Normally, that's probably not a problem, but when people are watching the sewer so close, the questions tomorrow are going to be, why was it pulled? Is it not going to happen? What have you? That was not the item to have that happen to.
Right. Yep. And I do believe Susan probably has some comments.
evening, council. So I just wanted to give you an update on current projects that we're working on over at the Brick since your last update in December. Planning Commission, since we spoke last, approved a use permit for the 72-unit apartment complex on Clark Road across from the post office. We have issued the building permits for Cypress Lane Family Apartments, and that is for 70 units. That's the phase 1. We've also received building permit applications for Northwind Senior Apartments, and that's 21 units on Upper Pence at the corner of Kingdom Court and Pence. We've received a rebuild application for a 10-unit apartment complex on Oliver Road, kind of behind Jack in the Box. We've received a rebuild application for Country Club Market at the corner of Stearns and Pence. We've also received a wastewater review for a new 10-unit development that's proposed where the old Manny's Chili Bowl and Thai restaurant was on Skyway, just north of Billy, on the left-hand side. So it's going through septic review. If it's successful there, then it'll come over to the Planning Commission for review.
For what again?
10 units, apartments. This month, the Planning Commission will be reviewing and make a recommendation to council about the draft safety element. It went through the Butte County Airport Committee at the end of 2023 and through the Board of Forestry in January with no comments, only praise for what the town's been doing for fire safety and resiliency in all of our building codes and development codes. So that should be then on council's March agenda to look at the safety element. And then we also issued a minor tenant improvement permit for a new Italian restaurant to go into the old Izzy's space on Pearson.
Italian restaurant.
Bucatini Trattoria, if I'm saying that right. Not even. And that's the update, and if there's any questions?
Anything more? At one point, there was some scuttlebutt about another fast food restaurant coming in. Do we have anything more on that?
No fast food. We met with Wendy's, right, because they own property here. I truly believe, yeah, Wendy's. They asked a lot of questions about the sewer because obviously the septic infrastructure for fast food is very expensive. I can believe they're going to wait for the sewer. And then Jack in the Box has been interested in finding their own property because they were just a long-term lease where they were at Oliver and Skyway. They didn't own it, and it sounded like unsuccessful in being able to acquire it, so they've been looking, but they haven't come back to us with any particular lot yet. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.